those years as a superhero in Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451, Hit Girl. As Zheng Chu said, Mindy has not been in the base much recently. Compared with the previous Mindy, she would run back to the base early after school every day, and then spend half an hour to finish her homework. She would either study and train with everyone in the base, or she would curl up on the sofa to play games, or lie on the bed to read comics. Basically, she had no contact and communication with her peers. Now Mindy seems to have a richer life. Now she no longer runs back to the base early after school every day, but always stays back until dinner time. Primary school finishes early, and dinner in the night watch base does not start until after 7 o'clock. Mindy clearly said that she has made a very good friend now, and she plays with this girl every day. Sometimes she goes back to her house. Especially on weekends, she is not seen. This makes Big Daddy and Frank very worried about her, but they dare not interfere too much, because this is the first friend of the same age that Mindy has made. All adults are worried that their interference will ruin the friendship between the two children. So although the two dads are a little worried, they dare not ask. Every time he saw Mindy coming back, he had an expression that seemed to be hesitant to speak. In order to stop her two fathers from worrying about her, Mindy took a few selfies with her mobile phone of her and Laura going to the amusement park or park to play and showed them to the two fathers. I really made a friend, not a love affair. Please, don't be too stubborn. I'm not interested in little boys. They are not attractive at all, Laura said. This made Damon and Frank feel relieved. And what Mindy said was true. She was hanging out with Big Daddy, Frank, and Nightcrawler Spider-Man every day. This kind of life had an important impact on the formation of her three views. For example, when it comes to attractive men, she has a completely different understanding from the girls in her class. For example, many girls like those handsome guys in Twilight. But for Mindy, it was not attractive at all. They have nice faces, but this kind of gym body is useless except for being good looking, right? I guess any 60 kilograms boxer can knock them all down. Mindy used her venomous tongue to complain about her classmates' tastes and shook her head. A bunch of good-looking sissies. They will definitely be helpless if they encounter armed robbery. They have bodyguards. They don't need to deal with robbers. A female classmate in the same class argued for her idol, and they are not comparable to those barbarians who can only fight. Mindy rolled her eyes and spat, "Tisk, trash." Well, Mindy's aesthetics and values are very different from those of ordinary girls, and her words cannot be taken as the standard here. It can be said that Lee Ji and Spider-Man have a great influence on Mindy. Although Mindy has not seen the real appearance of these two people, she knows that they are very young by listening to their voices. She always feels that the boys she admires cannot just be good-looking. They must also be able to take real responsibilities, just like Nightcrawler and Spider-Man. She admires boys who can contribute something to the world. So when chatting with Laura, she always complains about the aesthetic taste of her classmates. These words can only be said to friends of the same age and sex. Mindy has wanted to complain about these things for a long time, but she has never found a suitable person. It was not until Laura appeared that Mindy felt that she had someone to confide her inner thoughts. In the Bronx Zoo, Mindy and Laura sat side by side on a park bench. Mindy just bought 2 strawberry and vanilla flavored double-color ice creams from the ice cream truck in the park. Sitting on the park bench, Mindy and Laura licked the ice cream and chatted. But it was mainly Mindy who was talking, and Laura was more often listening quietly. So do you think those flower boys are really good-looking and attractive? Mindy was discussing the aesthetic taste of the female classmates in the school with Laura. Because of the different aesthetics from those female classmates, Mindy has always felt out of tune with them. Laura put one hand on her thigh so that she could use it to support her little face. She ate ice cream in this position while listening to what Mindy said. She was wearing a new pair of jeans, a new product of Levi's this season. The blue jeans had some sequins sewn on the pockets, which was more suitable for young girls and looked more lively. She wore a t-shirt with a cute Zelda image on her upper body. Although Laura didn't know who Zelda was, she liked this cute image very much, so she bought it. Mindy took her to the store to buy these clothes. In addition to clothes, Mindy also went to shoe stores and jewelry stores with her and bought many things that little girls like. For example, Mindy and Laura wore the same style of bracelets on their hands, woven with brown elastic ropes and wearing some metal ornaments with Indian elements on them. This bracelet was not expensive, but Laura liked it very much, because it was the first gift she had ever received in her life, and it was given to her by Mindy. These days were the happiest time in Laura's life. She had a soft big bed where she could sleep peacefully, instead of the hard bed in the laboratory. Being able to wear colorful and beautiful clothes instead of the monochrome hospital gowns in the laboratory. Having delicious meals to eat, sometimes Mindy would bring delicious food. And most importantly, for the first time in her life, Laura felt the warmth of a friend. Although Mindy's personality is lively and active, she can't stop for a moment. Laura is more quiet and steady. If it is not necessary, she will not say too much, nor will she do too much. But this does not prevent the two from becoming best friends. Just like now, Laura quietly eats ice cream and looks at Mindy, listening to her talk about the happy and unhappy things in school. Although Mindy likes to nag, and sometimes often complains to Laura about this and that in school. But Mindy has always been very careful and never directed the problem to Laura. As for Laura's origins and what she had experienced before, if Laura doesn't want to say, Mindy won't ask. The two girls use their own unique ways to maintain the development of this friendship. When Mindy finally finished complaining about school, she sadly found that her ice cream was almost melted. Her hands were all covered with the melted ice cream milk. Mindy quickly ate the melting ice cream, but because she ate too fast, she took in too much cold food at once, and her head hurt instantly. Are you okay? Laura looked at Mindy's head throbbing from the cold, and couldn't help asking. Not bad. Mindy took a long time to suppress the discomfort. She said helplessly, it's just that it's summer vacation now, I can't go to school. I can't participate in various activities with Big Daddy and others. I can only come to play with you every day. Do you think I'm annoying? Laura shook her head, and her chestnut short long hair danced with her shaking little head. As long as you are willing to come to play with me, I am happy to do it any time. Mindy heard Laura's statement and gave her a thumbs up. You know, I've been thinking about what we can do during the summer vacation, Mindy said with her hands holding her chin. Laura glanced at Mindy. What are you going to do? You know, Laura, there are more and more street heroes in New York City now. Mindy suddenly became interested and said, this is all because of the trend caused by the video clip of Nightcrawler. Many people who were previously unknown and faceless have begun to maintain law and order, or started to do good deeds. Huh? Laura hummed softly. So, this summer vacation, how about we form a group and show our skills in New York City? Mindy said with a gleam in her eyes. P.S. Regarding Myron in the previous chapter, this character is a minor character in the comic Iron Man v4. He is a modified product injected with the extremis virus. Although he only appeared in about 3 episodes, he almost killed Tony Stark. In this universe, he will be appropriately modified and will not be exactly the same as the original. Chapter 452, Harnessing the Power of the Masses. For Mindy, the days now are really boring. Although playing with Laura is really fun. But she doesn't think it's a good thing to keep playing like this. This little girl always has some bigger plans. For example, let Hit Girl return to the arena. You know, this once famous name has been silent for more than a year. This won't do. Although there is no sister in the arena, there are legends about sister. Mindy can't accept this kind of thing. She wants not only to have legends, but also to be able to gallop and wander in the arena. In the past year, she has been controlled too tightly by the Night Watch. This makes her feel that her bones are almost rusty. Especially after everyone in the Night Watch has been training her, Mindy feels that her levels should be getting better and better. But there is no place to make a practical attempt, which makes her feel itchy. Especially recently, when the short video of the hero of the Night Walker began to circulate on the internet, it inspired many people. More and more people have begun to join the work of street vigilantes. There are superpowers and many ordinary people among them. Their street vigilante work is not like the night watchmen who go around looking for gangsters or various terrorist criminal organizations to fight criminals. Because doing so would be very dangerous. After discovering the trend caused by his short film, Lychee began to pay attention to controlling the direction of public opinion on this point. Quite a lot of people discussed the establishment of street vigilantes similar to the Night Watchmen in the Night Watchmen forum. This kind of thing is very troublesome. Because if some people really have problems when they are vigilantes, such as being beaten to death by gang members, or accidentally injuring or even innocent people, This will cause a big change in the public opinion trend of the whole society. This will make many people doubt the correctness and stability of street vigilantes. And more masked vigilantes, will the government regard them as a factor of instability? You must know that the Superhero Registration Act was largely promoted because of this incident. Li Ji knew this very well, so he started to link up with other heroes on the Night Watchman's social networking site and his own private media to appeal for the cooperation between the vigilantes and the New York City police. Because Li Ji and Peter had reached a cooperation agreement with George Stincy before, when they found George again, the deputy police chief of New York City did not seem so surprised. Let those vigilantes become non-staff members of the New York City Police Department. George asked in confusion. They don't have the power to enforce the law, and to be honest, many vigilantes are just ordinary people, or people with average superpowers. George looked at Li Ji and Peter deeply. Most of them don't have the strength of you two, and their emotional intelligence and logical reasoning ability may not be as good as yours. To be honest, this matter has just begun and is still under control, but if there are more and more of these people in the future, it will become a problem. Li Ji did not refute this point. Yes, but we can't pretend that they don't exist just because these people didn't show up before. Maybe many people have done many things before. We just don't know about it. It's not a good idea to bury your head in the sand and be an ostrich, Sheriff. Just like we can maintain a good cooperative relationship with the New York City Police Department, I think these people can do it too. Li Ji said seriously, as long as you promise not to pursue every vigilante to disclose their identity, it will be fine. You just said that there are many ordinary people or people with average superpowers. If their true identities are made public, it is very likely that their daily lives will be affected. George patted his cheek and said indifferently, I have never asked about your and Spider-Man's true identities. Just like the undercover agents and plainclothes police in the police station. I know what to do and what not to do. In this regard, George, as an old policeman, is obviously different from those politicians who think that all power must be firmly controlled in their own hands. George is more pragmatic, and he also understands the inner thoughts of the grassroots people better. When he was just a low-level policeman, a lot of tips came from people who were unwilling to reveal their identities, so he continued to ask, but how do you think we can prevent these guys from being too involved and exceeding the limits of the law? As the most influential street heroes, what do you think? Li Ji looked at George and said, in fact, Chief Sheriff, have you ever paid attention to China, especially some news in BJ, especially about public security? George crossed his index fingers, occasionally, but not often. Because BJ rarely has big, sensational cases. So I don't know much? Li Ji stretched out his index finger and compared. In fact, BJ is a supermetropolis, and its population is probably more dense than New York. The amount of bills generated every day in such a super city is actually not small. George nodded and agreed with Li Ji's statement. He didn't believe that a city with a population of 20 to 30 million could live in peace every day. Please, this is not a utopia. Li Ji continued, many cases in BJ are caught by the police just after they happen, or even before they happen. Whether it's drug trafficking or illegal gambling, there are also some illegal underground transactions. George was a little interested. How do they do this? Because he knew that the police force in BJ was not much more abundant than that in New York City, and it was impossible to send people to stake out in every community. Because there are several very powerful organizations in BJ that cooperate with the police department. Li Ji said seriously, they help the police find those crimes in some corners that the police can't enter and can't see. You mean the Secret Service organization and the secret police? Like the original FBI. George didn't like this kind of thing, because the secret police often brought some unrest and abuse of power. No, of course not. Li Ji shook his head. It's the power of a group of civil organizations. They have reached a tacit understanding with the police. They provide intelligence, and then the police decide what to do. The police will not ask too much about the anonymous people. I think this model is very suitable for the current situation in New York. So, these organizations have official names? George asked. Of course, they include Fente Persuasion Team, Haitian District Netizens. Li Ji said seriously, the two most powerful ones are called Zichinati and Chaoyuan Masses. Chapter 453 Community Joint Defense Home Resettlement. George fell into a period of thinking after listening to Li Ji's words. It is a feasible proposal to include a group of ordinary people with extraordinary skills or enthusiasm for community security into the non-staff personnel of the New York Police. This is not an idea that was decided on a whim. It is not the kind of empty talk and useless ideas. In fact, it is all empty talk. The idea proposed by Lee G seems a little unserious, but in fact it is very serious. The New York Police is not omnipotent. You should be very clear about this, Chief Sheriff. There are many things you can't do. George did not refute this point. He naturally knew the shortcomings of the New York Police. Insufficient police force makes it difficult for him to deploy police officers to various communities in New York. Especially as New York is the face of the United States, it is very important to maintain the face of this city. And where is the face of New York City? Manhattan, Long Island, and at most in places including part of Queens. In order to maintain the face of these New York City, most of the police force has been invested in these areas. In particular, the blocks radiating from Manhattan Square are the areas with the most complete police resources in New York City. Of course, there are also areas near Wall Street and Central Park. The police force in these places is almost oversaturated. As for places like the Bronx and Brooklyn that really need a large number of police forces to maintain law and order, George has no police to send. The reality is often like this. The richer the place, the more resources it will get, even if these resources are already in excess. And those places that really need resources get nothing. In the early stages, we can learn from BJ City's approach. Connect this group of volunteers, in addition to some more normal community volunteer activities. For example, helping the elderly and children, or ordinary security patrols in the community. Others, such as when they discover certain criminal activities, try to let everyone solve them by calling the police. Maybe New York City can set up a special alarm line for volunteer police. Lee G said, touching his chin. We don't encourage ordinary people to fight against dangerous criminals by themselves, because it is irresponsible to them. Even for people with some superpowers, we don't advocate it. Not everyone has received professional training, and they are likely to make some extreme actions. Let every community, including those communities with insufficient police force, have police eyes. It is most important to prevent crimes before they happen and reduce the crime rate of the entire city. We want everyone to see the positive side of street vigilantes. Appropriate cooperation instead of a confrontation, just like those anonymous informants in BJ. Some people don't want to fight against crime, but the price they have to pay after fighting against crime is unbearable for many people, including the various dangers that they and their families may face. What Lee G said was not alarmist, but real. Although this is only the most basic stage, I think we can give it a try in some aspects. Lee G said to George seriously. I'm a little curious, why did you think of doing this? George suddenly asked Lee G. Lee G didn't react. What? What do you mean by doing this? It's to unite those street vigilantes in this way. Then you can organize and have the ability to let this group of people do what they should do, and this can also ensure that what they do is not too out of line. George said seriously. I want to ask, why did you think of doing these things? Logically speaking, these things have little to do with you. There is still a big difference between the night watchman and those street vigilantes. You are more professional. You do more things. In fact, there is no need to wade into this muddy water. Sheriff, many of what you said are right, but one thing is wrong. Lee G took a look at George's police badge. The night watchmen and street vigilantes are no different from the New York police and the other more than 20 million civilians in this city. We live here, there is a place called home here. Whether it's a vigilante or superhero, they have never been separated individuals. In essence, there is no difference between heroes and civilians. Lee G's words made George fall into deep thought. Heroes themselves should not be separated from the crowd, no matter how great your ability is. Ordinary people are always concerned about their daily lives. Why does the hair growth water invented by Tony Stark receive much more attention than the new energy he invented in his deeds as Iron Man? Lee G said. Because those other things are too far away from ordinary people. When Tony Stark wears the iron armor and shuttles through the clouds, the higher he flies, the farther he is from the people. The greater the thought, the greater the gap between him and the crowd. So everyone thinks Iron Man is cool, but few people really understand what Tony Stark thinks. And this is just a microcosm of superheroes. So the Night Watch has been committed to fighting street crime and controlling the crime rate in New York. Some people have said to me, especially to Spider-Man, Is it worth your life and ability to waste 10 minutes to catch a thief? George listened to Lee Ji's words and began to face the superhero in front of him for the first time. He was telling the true inner world of a hero. I'd say it's worth it, Lee Ji said seriously, because for an ordinary person, he wouldn't care what great invention Tony Stark has invented today that can change the world. But his wallet may contain all his living expenses for this month. People are sometimes unusually fragile, and some minor blows can change a person's life and future direction. For some people it's just a wallet, but for the person involved it may be the whole world. Lee Ji smiled. Aren't the actions of vigilantes and heroes to save the world? Whether you are saving this earth or someone's world, it's very important, isn't it? If his world is destroyed, that person won't care what new inventions or new trends there are in the world, because that has nothing to do with him. If superheroes don't care about or even ignore all of this, it will only cause ordinary people to drift away from them, or even cause estrangement and opposition. Admiration cannot make a living. Without the support of the people, any superhero is just a ridiculous joke. The so-called strong people who are obsessed with their own world will eventually be abandoned by others. And I want to make some reconciliation here. A reconciliation that is beneficial to everyone. Lee Ji expressed his views in full, and George nodded deeply. He agreed with Lee Ji's awareness of the relationship between heroes and the people. This is not the kind of condescending attitude that George also admired. In fact, when Lee Ji first released the video of I Am for Everyone, he had already started to do something similar. Tear off the divine halo and label attached to heroes. Only by showing the human side can heroes truly gain the support of the people. And the promotion of the so-called masked hero registration bill will become a tree without roots and water without a source. Of course, if the vigilante heroes are willing, they can register their hero titles and costumes on the Night Watch website, and it is best to register their superpowers. Of course, these are all based on voluntary basis, and they do not need to upload their personal information. Lee Ji continued. I can guarantee the privacy and security of this website, and no information will be leaked. Lee Ji could not trust the government. The US government is now like a sieve. God knows if there are still Hydra working in it. We hope that a small number of elites can lead the other neighbors in the community to help each other. This is only a very basic stage, but I think it is a good attempt. Let the New York police and the vigilantes reach a tacit understanding, and it can even become a demonstration point for other cities. Small people also have great power, making more and more people realize that they can do more than they think. It is also a great thing to eliminate the indifference between people. George sighed. You are really a very good lobbyist. I can't think of any reason to reject this plan. By the way, what do you plan to call this plan? How about calling it, Community Joint Defense Home Arrangement? Lee Ji smiled happily. Chapter 454, Dark Horse in the Election. Because Lee Ji and George reached an agreement, the New York City Community Security Prevention Ordinance and the Supervision Ordinance on the Responsibilities and Powers of Masked Vigilantes became one of the new security prevention ordinances in New York City under George's promotion. Now the election in New York City has begun to warm up. The work done by Lee Ji before has begun to play a role. James, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle, who is the most popular in both parties and had the highest campaign support, and former New York State Congressman Lurson, began to lose their power inexplicably. Needless to say, James was involved in the fake news incident that slandered Spider-Man. All his actions were considered by voters to be false propaganda and political showmanship. James, who originally held such an excellent media group as the Daily Bugle, did not gain any advantage in publicity. Instead, the group's website was hacked by various hackers who stood up for Spider-Man from time to time. Every time he was not giving a speech, someone protested against him. He is now like a street rat in New York. Every time he goes to public places for publicity, he has to bring bodyguards. You know, it is not the first time that a candidate in the United States has been beaten up by opposition voters during a speech. But going out with bodyguards makes James look even more guilty. This made James's support rate extremely low, even less than 10%. From the original hot candidate, he instantly became a cold stove, and whoever tried to burn it would be unlucky. And there is no need to say about Lurson. Lee Ji doesn't care what relationship he has with Jin Bing. Anyway, as long as he is related to Jin Bing, Lee Ji is not going to let this guy take the position. Under the joint suppression of Stark Group and Osborn Group, this candidate who was originally very popular also lost a lot of political resources in an instant. Lurison is not from any political family. He has built up his current status by himself. But how can his own connections compare with those of the two super consortiums? Whether it is the Osborn Group or the Stark Group, the technology they now master is the hottest chicken, and few people are willing to fend the two super consortiums for Lurison. You know, politics needs money to play. And Osborn and Stark are not only rich, but also have deep connections in the military and Congress. So Lurison lost a lot of support from external forces, and the most important thing is that Jinping has not come back until now. As a result, he lost his biggest sponsor. In the US election, how can you make a speech without money? How can you advertise? There are also various political shows. Money is needed in every aspect. In an election for the mayor of New York City, you can't even see a wave if you spend millions. If you operate at the level of less than 10 million US dollars, don't even think about making a sound in this election. The most unexpected thing is George Stacey, who was least favored by all political analysts at the beginning. This former deputy commissioner of the New York City Police Department was originally just pulled out to accompany the runner-up. Everyone knows this very well, and no one really regards him as an opponent. But at this moment, the originally inconspicuous old policeman burst out with terrible energy. The joint promotion of the Osborn Group and the Stark Group allowed George to form a professional and large campaign team. Moreover, after George eliminated the gap in money and background compared to other candidates, he instantly showed advantages that other candidates did not have. The first is appearance. Well, in this era of appearance, although elections are not talent shows, if the candidates have outstanding looks, it is naturally a plus. Compared with other candidates, such as James, who looks like a cunning businessman, and Lurison's big belly looks like a corrupt official, George's appearance is too outstanding. Of course, this excellence is not simply to say that George is handsome, but George's demeanor. He has been dealing with criminals for many years and has climbed up from the bottom step by step. He has an extraordinary demeanor. When he is serious, he looks like a majestic lion. When he speaks, his tone is sonorous and powerful. He always stands and sits upright, which makes people feel that he is a confident and trustworthy leader. At the same time, compared with those opponents who only participate in the election as a congressman or editor-in-chief of a newspaper, George is a person with real government work experience. And starting from the grassroots, he is more likely to win the favor of those grassroots voters. In particular, George's campaign manifesto is to give New York a safer living environment and reduce the crime rate. Many people have confidence in him. Because after he participated in the security management of Queens, the security in Queens has improved significantly in recent years. No one wants to live in a community where they dare not go out after 9 o'clock in the evening. A terrible community where they have to prepare their shotguns when they hear a knock on the door at 12 o'clock. Especially after the street heroes led by the Night Watch sent messages on private platforms, supporting professional police officers like George to become the mayor of New York City. Many fans of these heroes also stood on the side of the hero. We roam the streets as volunteer police just to hope that the city's law and order will be better. If this city has a mayor who really knows how to make this city better, then there is no need for us to wander the streets every day. This is the message posted on Spider-Man's Weibo and Twitter. Many Spider-Man fans have reposted this message. Although Spider-Man did not say who it was, everyone can guess that the better mayor he was referring to was George Stacey. After that, the Community Joint Defense Ordinance launched by George, which is now connected with the increasing number of vigilantes on the streets of New York, has won the favor of voters. George did not kill all street vigilantes with one stick, but drew a line for everyone. What can be done and what cannot be done is clearly stated. There is no objection to doing good things, as long as you don't go beyond the limit. If there is something that crosses the line but must be solved, the New York City Police Department has also opened a special hotline for vigilantes. You must know that New York's vigilantes are also New York citizens, and they are also part of the voters. They welcome George's attitude. So in the first election support survey, George Stacey received an astonishing 60% support rate, and there is an upward trend. This survey scared a lot of people. This time, a dark horse has really emerged. An unknown old policeman is really going to become the mayor of this super city. In Mindy's old nest, she is now busy with Laura. As for what? Well, Mindy and Laura are preparing to make new uniforms. There are so many vigilantes in New York City now, and Mindy also wants to join in the fun. She even thought of the name of the team, Beyond Twins. It's the third update, please vote for me. Chapter 455 on the importance of superhero costumes. Mindy has her own ideas about her new team. For example, the name of this team, Extraordinary Twins. This is the name of a game she played when she was playing PS games. The content of the game also tells some daily stories of a lolly with superpowers. Mindy has already completed this game, and she thinks this name is very suitable for her current status and relationship with Laura. Two little girls with extraordinary abilities, although not real twins, have the same feelings as real sisters. For Mindy, Laura is her important other half in the world. Although Mindy and Laura are much more mature than ordinary little girls, they sometimes maintain the personalities of ordinary little girls. For example, they never hide their likes and dislikes, and they do not hide their affection for each other. Just like real sisters. Girls are sometimes complicated, especially little girls. As an adult, you will never understand their thoughts and their inexplicable joys, sorrows, anger and happiness. But girls are sometimes very simple, especially little girls. You can cheer for a piece of ice cream for half a day, and you can giggle for a new plush toy for a whole day. Just like their friendship, pure and without other impurities. Laura didn't object to Mindy's plan to take her to be a New York vigilante, nor did she feel particularly excited. In short, compared to Mindy's eagerness to try, Laura seemed much calmer. Since Mindy liked it, it was no big deal to accompany her. And what Mindy wanted to do was not a bad thing, so Laura had no need to stop her. What do you think of my new uniform? Mindy made a new uniform for herself. She couldn't wear her original Hit Girl and Big Daddy uniforms now. First of all, not to mention that she had grown several centimeters in the past year, the original suits were already a whole circle smaller and couldn't fit into them at all. And if she went out to be a vigilante in Hit Girl's costume again, I'm afraid she would be found in the Night Watch team in a few days. Don't underestimate these guys, they are very scary when they get serious. Mindy knew this very well, so she wanted to change her appearance. At the same time, it was partly because of this idea that she pulled Laura closer to form a team together. Because if she was the only little girl, she would be too obvious. If rumors started circulating in the underground of New York City that a ruthless and violent Lolita had reappeared, the Night Watch would probably associate her with her soon. Mindy's solution to this was to find Laura. One violent Lolita is very conspicuous, and two violent Lolita would be even more conspicuous. But the more conspicuous and blatant it is, the less likely it would cause speculation and thoughts from other people in the Night Watch. It must be said that Mindy's considerations are somewhat reasonable. Well, she was just a little too confident. In this world, plans can never keep up with changes. Mindy's new uniform is no longer the original combination of purple leather, plaid skirt and cape. With her current aesthetics, this kind of dress is a bit outdated. Now she needs a super cool outfit. A whole set of black leather clothes, including a pair of black leather gloves. The whole outfit is made of cowhide, but the shoulders and waist are decorated with crocodile leather. Although the whole outfit is black, it looks layered and three-dimensional. In addition, Mindy herself sewed a small amount of red artificial leather on the corners of the clothes as decoration, which added a touch of jumping color to the whole set of clothes. It looks more smart. Of course, as a masked hero, a mask is also necessary. Imitating the eye mask of the popular female character Civet Cat in the comic Night Owl, Mindy made their own version. Plus a long black wig. The transformed Super Hit Girl is completely different from before. Mindy stood in front of Mindy in a cool new outfit, hoping to get her praise. Cool. Laura did not hesitate to praise her. She liked Mindy's new clothes very much. It was really well made. Not bad, I also made you a set of the same one. So we have our own superhero uniforms. Mindy said seriously. You spent several days making these costumes, why don't we just buy ready-made ones? Laura touched some of the small details that Mindy added to the leather jacket and asked. Don't be silly, Laura. Superhero uniforms should be unique. Qualified superhero uniforms are all homemade. I haven't seen many people go to clothing stores to buy ready-made clothes. Mindy took out the clothes she prepared for Laura and urged her to change clothes. Do you know Spider-Man? He's the guy in the comics I showed you. Mindy said. I know, what's the matter? Laura asked while changing into her new uniform. He made his own clothes, although it is said that he made them very badly at first. Because he couldn't sew, he made a faded red hood as his mask, and as a result, every day when he came home, his family would think he was beaten up outside. Mindy adjusted the collar of his leather jacket. But even so, Spider-Man has always maintained the good habit of making his own costumes. Although it is said that his first few uniforms were ugly, they were the outdated bright red wrestling uniforms. But now, you see his uniform has become a classic in cosplay performances. And it is his symbol. This is why superheroes insist on making their own costumes, you know? Because it is unique. Compared with it is another guy I saw before. Laura's leather jacket was a little stuck, and Mindy helped her to hold it up. Let her smooth out the wrinkles smoothly. That guy is called Kick-Ass, and his clothes are ugly. Kick-Ass? This name is so strange. Would anyone give themselves such a nickname? Laura was a little curious about this name. He didn't choose it himself, but someone gave it to him. Because his first act of bravery ended with him being beaten up. So he was called this name. Mindy shrugged. His clothes are just a ready-made green diving suit, which is ugly as hell. Believe me, even if he can really become a superhero, he will have no fans just with this uncool outfit. Look at why Night Owl in the comics is so popular. Although he is just an ordinary person, and his opponents are always patients in Assam mental hospital. And he can never catch those mental patients, letting them escape and constantly make big news. But Night Owl is still so popular. Mindy said seriously. A big part of the reason is the cool outfit of Night Owl. Strength is not important, as long as he can pose and pose. Acting cool, literary, and saying things that humans can't understand, Night Owl can win a lot of fans. Just like the movie Night Owl vs. Cabo Dragon released last year, it's about two mentally ill people who don't talk well. But a lot of people still like it. Mindy said helplessly, so Laura, you see, as a superhero, it is very important to have a beautiful and cool outfit. If your style is too ugly, even if you are famous, there won't be many model factories that will produce your peripherals. Laura couldn't help laughing when she heard Mindy's complaints, so, we have to be cool in all kinds of ways. Of course, girl. Mindy stopped Laura's shoulders, and the two put on their cool uniforms and stood in front of the full-length mirror. The mirror reflected two cool girls wearing black tight leather jackets, long black hair, and cat-eye like eye masks. Mindy and Laura are very satisfied with their current looks. The extraordinary twins will officially go out tonight. Criminal lunatics in New York, be careful starting tonight. Because starting tonight, the New York Kids Club is established. Chapter 456, Mantis Catches Cicada. New York, this place of luxury and debauchery, has many places for spending money and nightlife. For example, various bars and some indescribable places. The most important function of these places is to provide people with various alcoholic beverages. Whether you just want to drink or plan to do something after drinking. Alcohol is always the prelude to the opening of nightlife. Whether you are in Manhattan, Queens, or Brooklyn, you can find similar places. Because you can never eliminate people's obsession with alcohol and eroticism. This is one of the most primitive impulses of mankind. Thousands of years ago, the Egyptians discovered the method of fermenting wheat and made the first cup of wine in human history. This intoxicating liquid has been sought after and welcomed by humans. From ancient times to the present, alcohol has always been strictly controlled by the government. In ancient times, it was because brewing would consume a lot of grain, and grain was an important strategic resource for the country. So the country had to control brewing. In modern times, it is because of various violent incidents and sudden diseases caused by drinking and drunkenness. In fact, the state has always controlled alcohol. The most severe of them is the prohibition enacted by the United States in the 1920s and 1930s. Any beverage with an alcohol content of more than 2% is illegal in the United States. This was fueled by the Puritans at the time, but it also showed the government's concern about social problems caused by alcohol. For example, various violent incidents caused by drunk people, even shootings, etc. To some extent, drunk people are actually very similar to those drug addicts who have brain spasms due to taking hallucinogens. Because they can't control their actions. Just like today's Russia. Every winter, there are many people in Russia who freeze to death on the streets because of drunkenness. There are also domestic violence incidents after drinking at home. Some people say that Russia is a fighting nation, but believe me, you don't like to live with a group of drunk fighting nations. The US government at that time enacted the Prohibition Act for similar reasons, but of course it failed in the end. You can't control people's desire to drink. Just like what happened in a bar street in Queens today. A beautiful girl is drinking with two male companions. It's hard to say what purpose the two boys are asking the girl to drink. They toasted the girl frequently. "Jane, today is your first day at work. We need to celebrate." The boy raised his glass to toast the girl again. The girl named Jane actually didn't want to drink much anymore, because she was not a good drinker. The two men who invited her to drink today were the ones who introduced her to the current nursing job. Being a nurse in a private hospital is not a bad job, at least the salary is good. So Jane couldn't refuse the invitation of the two men, just to drink 2 glasses of wine. Jane's idea was simple. But now she really felt that she had drunk too much. "This is the last glass, I need to go back. I drank too much today." Jane felt dizzy and reluctantly drank the last sip of beer in her hand. She was ready to leave here and go home. She missed her big bed at home very much now, and wanted to throw herself on the bed and have a good sleep. "Hey, Jane. It's still early, not even 10:30, there's no need to rush back," one of the men said while holding Jane's hand, and seemed to want to force her to drink. Let go, let go." Jane struggled hard twice, but failed to break free. She was a little confused after drinking. "It's okay, let's continue drinking. We can take you home later," the two men said, and tried to drag Jane to the bar. How could Jane's power be compared with the two men? She could only shout, "Let go." But at this time, there were no people on the street. No one would wander around the street at this time, and naturally no one would come to help Jane out. Just as the two men were about to drag the room back to the bar, a hand suddenly reached out and opened the hands of the two men holding Jane. "Let go. Didn't you hear that this lady doesn't want to drink with you? She wants to go home and rest." The person who spoke was a woman wearing a white suit and a white mask. "If you keep getting entangled, I will call the police now." The lady who suddenly jumped out took out her phone and really started to call the police. This made the two men let go. "Tisk." The two snorted disdainfully. Recently, there are more and more people like this masked lady. These are the vigilantes who suddenly appeared on the streets of New York City. Some of these people have superpowers, but most of them are just ordinary people. Because of the inspiration of the Nightwalker video, and the new public security regulations introduced by the New York City Police Department, more and more people have joined the ranks of street vigilantes. Don't be afraid, Mom. I'm a street hero who has officially registered on the Nightwatch Alliance website. My name is Moonbird. The lady in a white uniform and a mask briefly introduced herself to Jane. "When I'm free, I'll come to bars like this to send those drunk ladies home safely." Jane's mind was a little groggy, but she still understood what Moonbird said. "Nightwatch? Do you have superpowers?" Jane was actually very good at talking, but she didn't realize it in the bar before. But after coming out and getting a gust of wind, she couldn't even stand steadily and needed Moonbird's support to walk. "Superpowers? Sorry, I don't have any." Unio smiled, "But I have a stun gun and pepper spray." Drunk girls in bars are very dangerous. 1/3 of sexual assault cases in the United States occur in this situation. And because of drunkenness, it is usually difficult for the court to determine whether it is sexual assault or voluntary. Unio said seriously, "So I don't think it's a good thing for girls to go out and drink like this." Jane smiled, "I don't usually drink. It's just that there are special circumstances today. But I really appreciate your help today. I will go." Before Jane finished speaking, she suddenly covered her mouth and ran to the corner of the alley and started vomiting. She really drank too much? "Are you okay?" Unio also walked into the alley and asked about Jane's situation with concern, and at the same time helped pat Jane's back to make her vomit more comfortably. Just as Unio walked into the alley, the two men who had been pouring wine into Jane also appeared at the entrance of the alley. There is a reason why they are crazy about pouring wine into Jane. Now it's very unpleasant to be interrupted by this guy called Unio. But this lady named Moonbird looks tall and has a wheat-colored complexion that looks pretty good. Maybe they made a profit today? When the two big men walked into the alley, they didn't know that there were two pairs of smart little eyes looking at them from above them. Mindy patted Laura on the shoulder. "Look, our prey is here. But it's a pity that we can't kill them, otherwise Big Daddy and the others will definitely find out who did it." Mindy's killing method has become a habit, and the Nightwatch team who know her well can easily find her through her method. In fact, we don't have to kill them, which will cause unnecessary trouble. Just teach them a lesson. Laura doesn't like to kill if it's not necessary. The two unlucky guys don't know yet that they will become the first target of the New York Kids Club. P.S. Moonbird comes from the comic Kick-Ass. Chapter 457 Justice League. Mindy and Laura were hiding on the fire escape of an old house. They were wearing black leather clothes and were very inconspicuous in the night. If you didn't look carefully, no one would notice that there were two little girls hiding on the fire escape on the third floor. The two men who had been forcing Jane to drink walked into the alley. This alley was a dead end, and the only exit was the place where they came in. Moonbird was dressed in white and was very eye-catching in the dark. This was intentional because she was not an extraordinary person with superpowers. She was just an ordinary woman who practiced some MMA-like fighting skills after get-off work. The white color made her look more eye-catching, and she would not go to particularly dangerous places. It can be seen from the fact that she carried a stun gun and pepper spray with her that she was not the kind of person who relied on force to fight injustice. Most of what she did was things that she could do. When Moonbird saw the short video made by Nightwalker, she had this idea. Because for Moonbird from Chelsea, she herself was a victim of a sexual assault case. The one who acquitted her of the crime was her high school classmate. She was a high school student at that time. When she was about to graduate from high school, her classmates held a party. Student parties are generally more fun than school graduation parties. Because alcohol is always available at such parties, for American teenagers who are legally allowed to drink at the age of 22, the legal age is too high. The United States is actually a country with a deep alcohol culture, which is inherited from European immigrants. Unlike China, many minors in China smoke secretly and think smoking is cool. However, in the United States, minors rarely smoke secretly, and more often drink secretly. Especially at various parties for high school graduations, these boys and girls always get a lot of alcoholic beverages. Yunaya drank like crazy at such a party. She forgot how much alcohol she drank at that time. About 40 ounces or 50 ounces? She couldn't remember, but it was a lot. She was forced to drink alcohol by those male classmates in turn. When she woke up, she was lying naked in a hotel with 3 male classmates. Yunaya was sure that she was sexually assaulted in a planned way, but there was not enough evidence. Because she was drunk, everyone was drunk. There is no way to determine whether it was a planned sexual assault or voluntary. The punishment for several male classmates was just community service, which was a painless punishment. Because of this kind of thing, Yunaya came to New York from Chelsea. When she heard the declaration of the night watchman, it reminded her of many past events. She decided to stand up and help those women who were also victims. Yunaya used her time after get-off work to go to the bar street to help those women who looked drunk and didn't want to get entangled with the men, and sent them home safely. Relatively speaking, Yunaya's white clothes are very eye-catching on the street. If you want to get entangled, it is easy to be noticed. So far, Yunaya has not encountered any real danger. Of course, except today, the 2 men who poured wine to Jane don't look like guys who are easy to get rid of. If you like someone's things, take it over, and you can always find a defense lawyer. Frederick II. What this scum said more than 1,000 years ago is still believed by many people today. For example, how much trouble can these 2 guys who are already half drunk and lustful, a little nurse and a masked woman, cause? These 2 were Jane seniors in college, and they studied different majors. The only thing they had in common was that they were both very rich. This was not the first time they had done something like this, and hiring a good lawyer could always settle such a thing. At most, they would have to pay compensation, which was no big deal. They were not short of money to hire a lawyer, especially since it was the most difficult to settle a case when someone was drunk. These 2 were not afraid at all. As long as they could knock Yunaya unconscious before she could react, everything would be fine. One of them took out a stun gun from his arms, which could instantly knock an adult unconscious as long as it was within 5 meters. After dealing with Yunaya, wouldn't a drunk Jane be easy to deal with? But they forgot that they were also drunk now. Although they tried to slow down their steps as much as possible when approaching Yunaya and Jane, they still heard Yunaya patting Jane on the back when they were 5 or 6 meters away. "What are you doing?" Yunaya turned around and saw the 2 drunks approaching with bad intentions. She immediately took out a stun gun from her waist and prepared to teach the 2 bastards a lesson. Damn it! The man holding the stun gun cursed and fired the stun gun directly. However, because the distance was far and Yunaya was already on guard, it didn't hide at all. Yunaya also fired the stun gun at him. Ah! The man screamed in pain, but because Yunaya's stun gun did not hit the man's body directly, but on his leather jacket. So the man jumped and struggled a few times, and then threw off the probe of the stun gun. After all, Yunao bought a civilian version of the stun gun instead of a special teaser gun, which was not powerful enough and accurate. Her resistance aroused the anger of the two men. Yunao didn't think she had the ability to fight two adult strong men alone. So she quickly pressed the alarm on her waist, which was a signal for help to contact other members of her organization. At the same time, she also hid the pepper spray in her palm. As long as the two men dared to come forward, she would use pepper spray to let them experience what it means to be extremely cool. She only needed to delay for a few minutes until the other members of the organization arrived. Bitch! The man who had just been electrocuted cursed and rushed towards Yunao, while the other man found a wooden board by the wall. He decided to give this woman who dared to resist some hard blows. The man who attacked Yunao seemed to have practiced some boxing and was very aggressive in his attack. He protected his vital parts and head, which made Yunao's pepper spray useless. The other man waving the wooden board was too far away from her, which was even more useless. Yunao could only put on the MMA posture she had learned and planned to fight this man head-on. If she ran away now, she could already guess what would happen to this drunk Jane. The man's punch was swift and powerful. Although he was drunk, his force was still correct. The whip-throwing effect started from the heel and was transmitted to his fist, through the waist and horse. The force was very swift. The wooden board that was fanned towards Yunao from the other side also made a whistling sound, locking Yunao's other evasive directions. Yunao gritted her teeth, afraid she would have to fight hard. Ever since she chose to do something and become a street vigilante, she was prepared for the consequences she would have to bear. Perhaps she would be covered in pain. But since she made the choice, Yunao has never regretted it. Because someone in this world will always stand up and do something. Not everyone can be a cowardly quail. Yunao held her arm, ready for the pain to come. She decided to attack the punching man first and force him back with a punch, and then take the counter-attack from the wooden board. Well, stupid move. Mindy on the fire escape shook her head. This woman obviously didn't have much experience in fighting. Start working, girl. Mindy patted Laura on the shoulder and flew down from the fire escape on the third floor. Laura followed closely behind. Two black figures rushed down from the sky. Mindy jumped down from the third floor and rolled to relieve the force without any damage. She rolled directly under the punching man and kicked him hard on the ankle. I would like to mention here that Mindy's shoes are hard-soled shoes. Crack. The sound of a broken ankle was very obvious in the dark night. The man who was just aggressive just now couldn't stand steadily in pain, and had to hold on to the wall next to him to barely stand. When Laura fell from the sky, she stretched out her claws and waved them. A cold light flashed, and before anyone could see what was happening, they saw that the wooden board that was originally waving towards Yunao was instantly broken into several pieces. Before the man could react, Laura punched him in the stomach. Although the little wolf girl was still young, her strength was not inferior to that of an ordinary adult. Her punch was steady and accurate, and she hit the man's stomach directly. The stomach that had drunk a lot of alcohol at night was stimulated by this and began to vomit instantly. Yunao was ready to be injured, but before the pain she was ready to accept came, she heard the wailing of two men. She looked carefully and saw that the two girls in black tight leather jackets who had just fallen from the sky in a flash had defeated the two aggressive men. The key point is that the two girls don't look very old. Judging from their height, Yunao even suspects that they are not even 14 years old. And judging from their clothes, are they twins? You are wearing white clothes and you don't have any fighting skills. Do you know that what you just did is very dangerous? Before Yunao could say anything, she saw one of the little girls in a black leather jacket complaining to her. You actually want to use your arm to block the attack of a piece of wood. Your upper arm bone and forearm bone will be broken into 3 sections. Then you will be beaten by these two bastards, and they will do those things to you. Although your original intention of being a vigilante is good, you don't have enough experience. This will bring you a lot of unnecessary injuries. The guy with the injured ankle wanted to run, and Mindy chased him and kicked his other ankle. Still want to run. See, lady in white, you don't have enough experience in dealing with such scum. And you are too soft. If you don't want to use gunpowder guns, please prepare a special teaser gun, which will be much more effective than your ordinary civilian stun gun. And I saw the pepper spray in your palm. The spray of your brand is not spicy enough. You need to buy the kind produced in Mexico, which can make people unable to see anything for a whole day, and the skin will have a strong burning sensation, which can make people suffer for 3 days. I can write you the brands of these things later, and where you can get them legally in New York City. Your equipment is too amateurish even for a vigilante. Mindy circled around Unio twice, complaining and lecturing without giving face. After all, Mindy has always been around a group of people in the decoration industry, and she feels uncomfortable when she sees a half-baked person like Unio. Because Laura was next to her, Mindy was very careful to control the scale of her words. Otherwise, she would be very skilled in using the 3-character classic. Unio never thought that one day she would be madly complained and preached by a little girl. As an adult, Unio found it a little difficult to accept from the bottom of her heart, so she weakly argued, I have notified my companions, they will be here in 2 minutes. I am just stalling for time. You have an organization? What is the name of your organization? Mindy asked curiously, and Laura just crossed her hands and quietly watched Mindy's crazy complaints about Unio. She thought it was very interesting. Moonbird glanced at Mindy. Mindy's complaints and various unprofessional accusations just now made her feel a little embarrassed to say the name of her organization. Why can't I say it? Mindy waved her hand. If you don't want to say it, forget it. Moonbird felt that it would be impolite if she didn't say it, but she felt a little embarrassed to say the name of the organization. It's not that the name is bad, but mainly because she thinks the name is too highbrow and it's not good for a group of amateurs like them. She hesitated for a long time and said, the organization I am in is called Justice League. Huh? Mindy looked at Moonbird in disbelief. A group of amateurs organized a group of vigilantes and dared to call themselves Justice League? The Night Watchmen should just change their name to Earth Watchers. Chapter 458, Deep Love for DC. Moonbird was helpless about this name that was too childish. It wasn't her who came up with it. The name of the organization had been like this before she joined. Justice League. Moonbird would not use the full name of the organization if it wasn't necessary. Normally, she preferred to use the code name League to directly refer to the full name of the organization. Yes, this is the full name of the League. It was called that before I joined. Moonbird looked at Mindy's expression as if she had seen a ghost, and hurriedly clarified that the name of the organization had nothing to do with her. It took Mindy a long time to recover. Even Laura was surprised that a group of amateur vigilantes would choose such an organization name. Because the name was really too big, with all kinds of meanings. How did you think of joining such an organization? It sounds like a concentration camp for transvestites. Mindy couldn't help but complain. I seem to have seen a group of lovers of strange clothes, too childish. Are there any psychopaths in your organization who like to wear their underwear outside? Moonbird immediately shook her head, indicating that there were none. What about the women who walk around in the street in broad daylight wearing bikinis in the colors of the American flag? Moonbird continued to shake her head. Then are there any macho men who dress themselves up like half man, half machine and never hide their macho looks? Moonbird said firmly, no. Mindy breathed a sigh of relief. It looked like they were not a group of hopeless transvestites. Then I guess there are none of these. Then there must be no psychopaths in your organization who dress themselves up in green from head to toe. Moonbird did not shake her head immediately this time. She was a little hesitant. Although someone's taste was terrible, he was at least her teammate. Was it not good for her to dislike his taste like this? Moonbird finally nodded hesitantly. There is indeed one. He is the convener of our organization. And I seem to have seen him coming. Moonbird pointed to the alleyway. Mindy and Laura looked in the direction she pointed. A man in a green one-piece tight diving suit, decorated with yellow stripes, was running towards them quickly. He was holding two heavy-looking metal short sticks in his hands. He had already seen Unio, who was dressed in white, in the alley. Unio, are you okay? Let me save you. He attacked Mindy and Laura with a short stick. Wait. Kick-ass, it's not these two girls. Unio shouted immediately when he saw that something was wrong. What? Kick-ass, who had just attacked Mindy, was stunned, and was kicked hard on the knee by the little girl and took several steps back. The person who came was Kick-ass David. Compared to his past life, he has now undergone a huge change. In the original story Hit Girl, he was just a supporting role, and was insignificant. He was weak in many ways. When he first appeared, he was pressed to the ground by a few gangsters and had no power to fight back. In this world, because of the chain reaction caused by Lee G, David got the opportunity to change his life. For example, He has now become the last disciple of Gunsho. He received real training in the Pure Innocence Society. The old man taught him many skills, including ninjutsu and fighting techniques. Because David was different from his other two disciples. The old man's eldest disciple was Panchi, an orphan who had been trained since childhood, and the second disciple Matt Daredevil, a child who had lost his father and eyesight. It can be said that these two disciples were born with a lot of dark sides gathered deep in their hearts, but they just didn't break out. So the old man always had some concerns about them. Although the old man was getting older, he had begun to divide the huge resources in his hands. The eldest disciple Panchi would inherit the Innocence Society, and the Unified Hands Society would be handed over to Daredevil Matt. As the youngest disciple, David did not seem to have gained any benefits or inheritance, but this was just an appearance. Because the old man left his most important legacy to David. That was the training method he had never given to Panchi and Matt, the training method of internal energy. This was a training method originated from Kunlun in China, but in practice, one must constantly challenge the inner demons. When the old man was young, he almost died on this. Once the dark and negative demons in Mad and Rock erupted, the old man was worried that they would not be able to control their violence. Compared with the two brothers, David is a very, very simple guy. Although he was not born well, he lived in a family at the bottom of Brooklyn and his mother died early. He was often bullied in school. But such a teenager who seemed to have a serious dark and disgusting attitude towards society was not defeated by life. Not only did he not turn evil, but he became more positive and optimistic. It can be seen that he dared to wear a one-piece diving suit to do justice before he met the old man. Whether you call it a second-year disease or a restless adolescent, he always has extraordinary courage and responsibility. He always dares to do things that others dare not do. Although he is sometimes very cowardly, he has a pure heart. He doesn't care about the old man's legacy at all, although David's family is not rich. Living in the bottom of Brooklyn, he may never have the opportunity to walk into Manhattan's high-end shopping malls and spend lavishly in his life. But David didn't care. Compared to those things, he was more willing to pursue what was in his heart. For example, like forming a team of heroes of his own like the Night Watch. So, what are your names? Are you willing to join our organization? We are an organization that has been formally registered with the Night Watch. David rubbed his legs. Mindy's kick just now was really heavy. David should thank him for his training this year. If it were an ordinary person, Mindy's kick just now would be enough to break bones. Mindy now took a closer look at the guy in front of him. Although he was really unhappy that he attacked him indiscriminately. But he knew this guy, and Nightwalker even treated this kid to food. Putting aside whether to join this organization or not, Mindy now has only one question: how did the name of their organization successfully register with the Night Watch? Mindy couldn't figure this out. In fact, this was due to Lee Ji's acquaintance with Kick-Ass. It was Lee Ji who came to the rescue when Kick-Ass was beaten for the first time. And later, David also helped Lee Ji provide information about a hand. In addition, Lee Ji had a good relationship with the Innocence Society, and slowly became more and more familiar with David. Although this child has a Chunyabao, he is a good child. This is how Lee Ji evaluated David. Zheng Chu, who was responsible for the registration with the Night Watch Alliance, originally wanted to reject the organization name submitted by Kick-Ass, because the name was a bit too presumptuous. But Lee Ji said, "That's great, let this child's organization name pass." Although Lee Ji was not a fan of American comics in his previous life, he also knew about the organization that was as famous as Marvel's Avengers, that is DC's signature Justice League. Without Superman and Batman in this world, there would naturally be no Wonder Woman or anything like that. Without the three giants of the Justice League, there would naturally be no Justice League. But now there is a group of teenagers with middle school syndrome. They want to inherit the spirit of the Justice League, and Lee Ji fully agrees with this. Is there anything better than passing on the spirit of DC in the Marvel world in this way? Compared to Marvel, which has only become popular in recent years, Lee Ji grew up watching Batman and Superman animations when he was a child. So for DC, Lee Ji is the one who truly loves it deeply. Well, there is one more thing. Kick-Ass's clothing taste is actually similar to Superman. One wears a one-piece diving suit, and the other wears his underwear outside. Isn't this the same clothing taste? Clark Kent, a reporter for Metropolis Daily Planet, wears black framed glasses, wears red underwear outside, and runs very fast. Look, you don't have to worry, although you are in a different universe. But your spirit and your dressing taste have a perfect successor in this universe. Please rest assured, I will make the Justice League flourish in the Marvel world. Let more amateur vigilantes join the Justice League and let everyone know what kind of organization it is. This is my deepest love for DC. Lee G clenched his fist and thought. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 459, Extremis Virus, Deadpool Comics, and Someone Cheating. Deadpool won't get dividends if he doesn't publish his own comics. More importantly, without his own comics, he won't have any hot IP rights, and there's no need to talk about the big movies and anime peripherals that Deadpool expects. And these things are related to the most important thing for Deadpool, that is, the greenbacks. For Deadpool, who wants to buy an island in Spain and invite a group of hot girls in bikinis to play with him, he won't join the Avengers of S.H.I.E.L.D. without money. So Deadpool's personal publication can't be delayed any longer, but Lee G still has the copyright of Hawkeye. 10 years and $1 million can't be wasted. So Lee G found Ivy, an important artist in the company. Ivy, you know, the copyright of Hawkeye can't be left in the hands of the company. After all, $1 million is not a small amount of money. But Hawkeye's reputation is still not very good now. Although it needs to be hidden for a while, it can't be hidden endlessly. We need to take the initiative to pull Hawkeye's popularity back. Lee G said to Ivy earnestly. So boss, you want me to be the main writer of Hawkeye's personal publication? Ivy felt that he understood Lee G's thoughts. Yes, it's similar, but it's not the kind that is serialized in the company. Lee G said seriously, the sale of Deadpool's issue also needs to be preheated in advance, and it needs to accumulate some popularity. We need to create a selling point about the grievances between Deadpool and Hawkeye. Ivy listened very seriously, and Lee G also spoke frankly. I know you draw BL fanfiction on some websites. And you have a considerable number of fans. Regarding the story of Deadpool and Hawkeye, I think we can make some appropriate adaptations. Don't make the relationship between the two so stiff, change it to a general love-hate relationship. Do you understand what I mean? Of course, this is not a waste of work. The company will provide appropriate compensation. Lee G's words were very clear. How could Ivy not understand? Just like she is still drawing Spider-Man's BL comics now, she maintains a high degree of enthusiasm for this kind of creation. Butterboss took the initiative to make this request, and it was paid, which made Ivy even happier. In an instant, she had thought of many ideas about why Deadpool only targeted Hawkeye when asking for salary, and all that dirty water was thrown on him. Why did Deadpool do so many extreme actions, such as throwing feces and welding doors? There are many alarm points to dig in here. Thinking of this, Ivy got goosebumps with excitement. But she was still a little worried. Boss, Deadpool and Hawkeye are official people. I was sued 2 years ago for drawing fan works of Captain Rogers, slandering official heroes and so on. Although I was only sentenced to community service in the end, if I am sued again, I will have a criminal record. Ivy's worry is not unreasonable. No one likes to have an indelible criminal record in their identity file. No matter what crime you have committed. Lee G waved his hand. It doesn't matter. I have discussed with Deadpool. He doesn't suggest anything for fame. You can draw it however you want. As for Hawkeye, Deadpool promised me that he would not give Hawkeye a chance to resist. Hearing Lee G's promise, Ivy stood up immediately. Then there is no problem. Boss, I think I need to start working quickly. Oh, I have to call Gwen. I need to discuss the plot and write the script with her in the evening. Lee G nodded to indicate that Ivy could go out. Looking at Ivy's excitement, Lee G sighed. Few Josie are terrible. Especially when Gwen was Peter's girlfriend. Just thinking about Peter and Gwen, almost the next moment, Peter Parker, the little bug, walked into Lee G's office with his face covered. He threw himself hard on the sofa, covering his face and said, I think I need to stay at your house for a few days. Why? College hasn't started yet, don't you live with Uncle Ben? Lee G asked curiously. At least not on the next few days, you see. Peter released the half of his face that he had been covering, and a huge purple mark appeared on his face. Professionally speaking, this was subcutaneous hemorrhage caused by external force. Wow. Lee G was a little surprised. You met a difficult criminal? Do you need my help? The first thing Li Ji thought of was that Xiao Chong had provoked a powerful opponent. After all, Peter Parker, who has spider sense, couldn't even hide him with bullets, and now he was hit in the face by someone, and he looked like he was beaten without any ability to fight back. No, it wasn't the criminal who hid him. Peter shook his head. Who is that? Uncle Ben or Aunt May? Did you make trouble outside and make them angry? But they don't look like parents who'd hit people. Li Ji was a little puzzled. It wasn't them. Peter said hesitantly, it was Gwen who hit me. She hit me with all her might. I didn't dare to dodge at the time. In order to let her vent her anger, I could only take the beating. She is very angry now. I have to apologize tomorrow, and I will probably be beaten again. I can't go home with injuries every day. I can't answer Uncle Ben and Aunt May when they ask me. Huh? Li Ji's first reaction to what Peter said was disbelief. After more than a year of contact with Gwen, Li Ji thought he still understood her. This is a smart and elegant girl with strong autonomy and rationality. She may quarrel with Peter because of something. It is normal for young lovers to quarrel occasionally. But she will never hit anyone. She is an elegant girl, not a wild girlfriend. Unless Peter made some mistakes that made her angry and lost her mind. How did you succeed in angering Gwen? Li Ji was a little curious. Gwen hit Peter, and Peter didn't dare to dodge or argue. He even planned to apologize tomorrow, which was enough to prove that Peter Parker had caused something that made Gwen very, very upset. Promise not to tell anyone what you saw. Peter reminded Li Ji first. Li Ji nodded to indicate that he would not tell anyone. Peter lifted the collar of his shirt and let Li Ji take a look at his neck. There was a bright red mark on his neck, which was not Peter's birthmark but something that had just appeared in the past 2 days. If Li Ji was not mistaken, was this the legendary kiss mark? Hickeys and the like were not a big deal. After all, Peter also had a girlfriend. But from Gwen's reaction and Peter's current attitude, Li Ji could be sure of one thing. This kiss mark was obviously not left by Gwen, otherwise she would not have had to be so angry. It must have been during the date that Peter accidentally revealed this kiss mark and Gwen happened to see it, which made her furious. And Peter Parker, who always seemed to be well behaved, was actually playing the Sheriff Field game at this time? So you are cheating on me, right? Li Ji looked at Peter, and his tone suddenly made Peter a little unpredictable. This chapter was posted by mistake. I missed 1,000 words. Please go to the related work to see the missing 1,000 words. I don't have an editor now, and I don't have the right to change the text. There is nothing I can do. Public chapters are free, and these 1,000 words are compensation. Chapter 460 How deep the love, how cruel the hate. Li Ji's suspicious attitude made Peter a little uneasy. He wanted to defend himself. But he couldn't open his mouth. Li Ji didn't take the initiative to ask anything, because whoever asked about this kind of thing would be unlucky. Because there's no right or wrong in emotional matters, anyway, Li Ji had subconsciously concluded that Peter must have been unfaithful to Gwen after seeing the kiss mark on Peter's neck. As for the process and reason, it doesn't matter. Infidelity is infidelity, whether it is a man or a woman. Li Ji is not very optimistic about Peter begging Gwen for forgiveness. It's like a boy who came back from a business trip and found that his girlfriend was hanging out with someone else. What can he do? Of course, he chose to forgive her. Haha. For Gwen, Peter's current problem is like a man who finds himself being cuckolded. Not only men wear green hats, but women also wear them, and it seems that Gwen is very concerned about being cuckolded by Peter. Gwen just punched you. It's incredible. Li Ji looked at the deep kiss mark on Peter's neck and said with a sigh. This requires a lot of dedication to kiss. Spider-Man, don't tell me that you were forced. I don't believe this at all. This woman sucked on your neck for at least a few seconds. With Spider-Man's reaction speed and strength, there is no reason why he couldn't break free. Unless the one who kissed you forcefully was Wonder Woman or something like that. She tied you up with her lasso of truth. It is said that Gwen is proficient in chemistry and biology, and seems to be a little better than you. Li Ji said this without any clue, which made Peter a little confused. What? I mean, she just beat you up, instead of considering making poison or chemical products to deal with you. I am really lucky for you. At least you are still alive now. Li Ji said this very seriously. Huh. Peter laughed dryly. I don't think Gwen should be so scary. I think I should be forgiven as long as I apologize a few more times. I think so. Peter himself was a little uncertain. Li Ji looked at Peter deeply, Do you really think that you can just get beaten up to vent your anger? I think if Gwen is still willing to beat you up tomorrow, it will be good news for you. But if she doesn't do it. Lee Ji made a gesture that you are dead. Why? Peter was puzzled. But Lee Ji was too lazy to explain to him. It didn't matter why Peter cheated. Lee Ji temporarily let Peter live in his house. Peter went to see Gwen the next day, but Lee Ji was not very optimistic about it. There is a saying that the deeper the love, the fiercer the hatred. Gwen's feelings for Peter were very real and fierce. I'm afraid that for this girl, it was the first time she had been so involved in a relationship. From the more than 1 year since she met and fell in love with Peter, even outsiders like Lee Ji and Harry could see how much Gwen valued this relationship. To be honest, putting aside Peter's identity as Spider-Man that could not be made public, just looking at the comparison between Peter and Gwen, no one thought they were a suitable couple. That's right, Peter is handsome and has a gifted mind. As an ordinary person, he will be an excellent scientist or scholar in the future. This is also an extraordinary achievement. But please take a look at Gwen. This girl is very outstanding, with blonde hair, blue eyes, long legs and exquisite appearance. She has always been the object of pursuit by men in school. And she is not only beautiful in appearance, but also her brain is as good as her appearance. She is the best intern in Osborne Group and the leader of the whole group. New York University also invited her to enroll in advance. Not only New York University, but also Brown University and Cambridge University in the UK have sent her admission invitations. It can be said that Gwen is not inferior to Peter in terms of intelligence. In some aspects, she is even better. Let's compare her family background. Peter's parents are both dead, and he was raised by his uncle and aunt. The family is barely considered a middle-class family, but with an annual income of about $80,000, after deducting taxes, mortgage insurance and other miscellaneous items, there is not much disposable income. So Aunt May has to live frugally every month to save money for Peter's future tuition. Although Gwen's father, Sheriff George, also started as a small policeman, he climbed up step by step in 30 years and is now the deputy commissioner of the New York City Police Department. Even if Lee Ji didn't push him from behind and let him run for mayor. Just his position as deputy chief of police is a big shot in New York, a city of 26 million people. When Gwen was born, George had already gained considerable power in the police department. As Gwen grew up, George's status continued to rise. It can be said that Gwen was born in a fairly wealthy and prestigious family. Gwen herself is an upper-class lady. Gwen is a real white, rich and beautiful woman, and when she fell in love with Peter, Peter had not yet become tall, rich and handsome. Her father George has always disliked Peter because Peter has a bit of a slick personality. George has talked to Gwen about Peter many times. For this reason, Gwen even had a big fight with her father. You know, Gwen has been closest to her father and admired him the most since she was a child. Compared with the superheroes who have only recently begun to rise. In Gwen's heart, her patron saint has always been her father George. Because this old policeman has been protecting the city for 30 years, in Gwen's heart, George's status is far higher than any so-called superhero. If she had to choose her own hero, Gwen would vote for her father without hesitation. Such a daughter who was loved by her father and always sensible and obedient even said to her father for Peter, "If you don't want to see me, I can move out." This is a very serious sentence, which hit George hard. From then on, he no longer asked about Gwen and Peter. It can be said that Gwen invested far more in this relationship than Peter. Others would only envy Peter for finding a girlfriend like Gwen, and Gwen's upper-class friends would see Gwen choose a boyfriend like Peter. Although they might not say it on the surface, there would never be less gossip in private. For example, this guy is just good-looking, and most of them are on the list of Gwen Tree Gigolo. Or it can be said that Peter is very good in some indescribable places, so Gwen likes him. These messages can be summed up in one sentence: Gwen must be blind to fall in love with Peter Parker. It can be imagined how much pressure Gwen endured before she stood firmly with Peter. When she saw the kiss mark on Peter's neck, Gwen's heart was broken. All the pressure and rumors she had endured before completely defeated her at this moment. When she returned home, she locked herself in the room and cried all night. When Peter found Gwen the next day, he tried to make his tone light. "Gwen, listen to me, some things are not. It's okay, Peter Parker," Gwen said calmly. She had hit Peter yesterday, and today she was too sleepy to do it again. "I think we should break up." After saying this, Gwen tried to hold back her sadness and not let her tears flow. She pushed away Peter Parker, who was blocking her, and walked away without looking back. Only Peter was left standing there in a daze. He couldn't believe what he heard. Gwen broke up with him? And it was so decisive that there was no room for maneuver. At this moment, Peter finally understood what Lee Ji meant by "if Gwen is still willing to hit you, it's at least good news." This time, Peter Parker really wanted to die. Chapter 461, Spider-Man's cheating incident. In the house where Lee Ji lives now. Today is a working day. Xianai needs to go out to work. The beautiful female wizard also needs to go out to help Ancient One find a successor. The huge house was empty in an instant. Now only Lee Ji and his 3 best friends were sitting on the sofa in the living room. The 3 of them sat facing each other in silence. Peter lowered his head and looked like he had been crying. Lee Ji and Harry sat opposite him with serious faces. The 2 had no intention of comforting him. Especially Harry, he looked a little angry. He slapped Peter's back hard, and the blow was so strong that it made a banging sound. He was seriously beating Peter. "Are you crazy? Peter Parker." Gwen came to Osborn Group for internship since she was in the first year of high school, and I knew her at that time. I have never seen a girl as outstanding as her. And I have never seen her be attracted to other boys. Harry stood up and dragged Peter up and threw him into the sofa again. "I introduced her to you because I thought you were a good guy and could match a good girl. Look what you have done now." Harry's anger made Lee Ji look at him sideways, but Harry didn't notice. As Harry said, Gwen is a girl who is excellent in all aspects. So she got Harry's attention as soon as she entered the Osborn Group. After all, it was his family's business. Lee Ji couldn't guarantee whether Harry had thought about pursuing Gwen 2 or 3 years ago, but Harry was probably not the type that Gwen liked. Because Gwen treated Harry just like an ordinary friend. But even so, the 2 were very good friends. Otherwise, without Harry's matchmaking, Peter would not have known Gwen so quickly. Maybe it was because he failed, so Harry thought about introducing this good girl to his good friend. Lee Ji still remembered that Peter's first meeting with Gwen and everyone's lunch party were arranged by Harry. It seems that the complexity here is far beyond his calculation. Lee Ji pinched his nose bridge and relaxed the acupuncture points around his eyes. "It's really bloody. A superhero movie has been turned into a bloody idol drama." Lee Ji complained silently. "Okay, Harry. Peter is Gwen's boyfriend. And you are Mary Jane's boyfriend." Lee Ji's casual words made Harry, who was originally very angry, calm down instantly. He sat on the sofa and hummed twice. "Okay, don't pursue those useless things. So Gwen really made up her mind to break up with you?" Lee Ji touched his head and felt a little overwhelmed. Peter looked completely listless now. He nodded with his head drooping. "So you are really two-timing now?" Lee Ji asked seriously. Peter now raised his head and looked at the 2 of them, a little hesitant. But in the end he nodded, "Yes." Huh. Lee Ji was speechless for a moment. Peter Parker, who had always been well-behaved, actually had two-timing. It was really eye-opening. And now Lee Ji didn't even sympathize with Peter Parker. Since he had taken such a step, it would be normal for him to be dumped after the truth was revealed. Harry even turned his head away and didn't look at Peter. Seeing that his 2 old friends were not on his side, Peter was a little anxious. "I can't lose Gwen. Don't you have a mistress?" Harry silently turned on the TV and tuned to the replay of Hell's Kitchen Season 11. Gordon Ramsay's cursing in the TV just said what he wanted to say in his heart. Eat what's in the bowl, but also look at what's in the pot. Do you really think that opening a harem is as simple as in the Kittian novels? Peter Parker, you are still naive? Please. Help me. I was really wrong. I can't let Gwen leave. Peter pleaded with his 2 friends. He was really serious and his tone was a little sad. Lee Ji touched his chin. "Then please at least tell us how this mark on your neck came from. How did you get involved with other women?" "To be honest, Peter, although we are good friends. But if you really just want to play around, I also think it is the right choice for Gwen to leave you. After all, it's you who are at fault for all this, not her." Harry also agreed with Lee Ji's words. He said, "Yes, Mr. Parker. Please tell us who you are hooking up with. Who made you forget that you have a real girlfriend?" Peter looked at his 2 friends and said righteously, as if they were not going to help him unless he told them what happened. Peter hesitated and had to speak. "That was about a month ago. As the most popular and most friendly superhero in New York City, Spider-Man helps fight various criminals on the streets of New York City every day. This is also the difference between him and other members of the Night Watch. Lee Ji and Frank are more likely to fight underground organizations and criminals that are difficult for the police to collect evidence and arrest. They are really not interested in catching thieves and patrolling every day. After cooperating with the New York police, George and Spider-Man reached a tacit understanding. Peter still monitors the police network, but he will not simply and rudely interfere with any planned actions of the police. He will observe from a distance more often. If he is sure that the police can handle the problem on the scene by themselves, he will leave. He will only take action if the police cannot handle it or if the lives of police officers are in danger. As a result, the relationship between Spider-Man and the police quickly became harmonious, and George was naturally happy to cooperate with such a Spider-Man. But recently, the New York City police had a big problem. That is, a great art thief appeared in the city. The collections of several wealthy people and artists in the city were stolen. Mainly some famous oil paintings from the Renaissance, and some precious porcelain. Among them was a rook-kill porcelain from the Song dynasty in China, of which only more than 30 pieces remain in the world. Each piece is a priceless treasure. The rich and artists were very annoyed by the theft. They were all upper-class people, and most of the stolen artworks were their favorites. So these people united to put pressure on the New York City police, demanding that the thieves be caught as soon as possible and the stolen artworks be recovered. It was originally the duty of the police to arrest the thieves, not to mention the pressure and urging from so many people with connections. This forced George to put out 120,000 spirits to deal with this case. But ideals are fulfilling, and reality is skinny. After several ambushes, the police did not catch a single hair of the other party. The only information that was clear was that the thief was a woman, and she was quite famous in this circle. The successive failures made George seem a little passive in the current mayoral election. As a son-in-law cared for his father-in-law, or was nosy, Peter once again monitored the police network and learned about the police's latest ambush. He decided to help the police arrest this art thief, the female thief called Black Cat. Chapter 462 When the Black Cat Meets the Spider. Black Cat's real name is Felicity Hardy. This is a lady with beautiful long white hair, a tall and outstanding figure, and a stunning face. She meets the modern definition of beauty and sexiness, unlike girls like Gwen and Mary Jane. This is a woman with sexy charm. She is not a person who lacks money. Theft is just a hobby for her and a need to satisfy her collecting addiction. Felicity has a very rich father who left her a lot of inheritance before his death, and Felicity herself is also a graduate of Empire State University. Even if she puts all the money left by her father into a special foundation, the income she can get every year is enough for her to live a wealthy life in the upper class. However, there was a movie that had a very profound impact on her in her childhood, that is, The Italian Job starring Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery. This is a story about a world-class thief. The extraordinary skills of the heroine in it, and the sense of accomplishment after each successful theft deeply touched Felicity and shook a string in her heart. In fact, everyone has similar middle school years. For example, they think the gangster boss is very cool and want to become a gangster when they grow up. Or they think the cold-blooded killers in the movies are so handsome that they hope to become a world-class killer as cold and invincible as in the movies when they grow up. Such thoughts may have been in the hearts of many boys and girls, but they are too ashamed to talk about their middle school fantasies when they grow up, let alone realize them. However, Felicity is not a person who is not easy to compromise. When she decides to do something, she will always find a way to do it. For example, she trains herself like the heroine in the movie and starts to try stealing. As mentioned above, she is not a person who steals other people's things for such vulgar purposes as money. Here we must talk about another quirk in the character of this beautiful lady. That is the incurable collecting habit. Felicity is intoxicated with various artworks and exquisite crafts, such as famous paintings handed down from generation to generation and exquisite porcelain clocks. She herself also has a very high artistic accomplishment when she was at the Imperial State University. The oil paintings and sculptures she created have been praised by professors in the school more than once. She was also recommended to many masters, giving her more opportunities to learn and communicate. A girl who has a fanatical love for various artworks and has considerable artistic accomplishments, as well as a serious collecting habit, and is also a girl who repeatedly practices her stealing skills. Every time she sees various exquisite artworks, she wants to take them for herself. However, the prices of paintings handed down by great painters such as Van Gogh and Monet are no longer acceptable to ordinary wealthy people. Although Felicity's father left her a lot of money, about more than 10 million US dollars. But if this money is used to buy priceless artworks, Phileas may not be able to afford a few pieces even if he goes bankrupt. What can I do if I can't afford it but want it? Go steal. The paintings of the masters have fallen into the hands of those local tyrants who only know how to make money, and they don't know how to appreciate them at all. These paintings are just used by them as home furnishings to show off their status and wealth. They don't understand the art behind these paintings at all. Black Cat said to himself. Those artworks are crying. They need someone who can really understand and appreciate them. And how can an artist's work be called stealing? Exclamation mark. I really want to save these artworks. Phileas shouted in her heart. Phileas has extraordinary talent, and she has never failed since she started stealing the first painting. More and more artworks appeared in her private collection room. Until she stole something she shouldn't have stolen, a self-ringing clock from a museum in Washington, D.C. It was exquisitely made, and it was a craft from Paris, France in the 18th century. She liked this little thing very much, so she took action. But she didn't know that this small self-ringing clock was also the favorite of another person. That was Nick Fury, the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D. The one-eyed dragon usually didn't have any leisure activities or hobbies. He gave all his time to S.H.I.E.L.D. But if he had time in Washington, he would go to the museum to see this self-ringing clock. Watching the second hand of this clock move quickly, and then being able to temporarily daze for a while was the only relaxation in his tense life. Phileas stole this self-ringing clock, which made Nick Fury furious. Although arresting ordinary thieves is not the responsibility of S.H.I.E.L.D., Cyclops still sent his agents to arrest Felicia. The result is clear. Felicia was arrested and thrown into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s prison. It was not until the last prison riot that Felicia escaped. After escaping with great difficulty for a few months, this art collector began to itch again. Because the last time Nick caught her, he returned all her treasured artworks to their original owners. Without those artworks, Black Cat is like losing oxygen and water in her life. She knows that there is a bit of trouble inside S.H.I.E.L.D. now, as if Nick has stepped down. S.H.I.E.L.D. is in chaos, and she herself is not a serious criminal. It's just an ordinary theft. The new S.H.I.E.L.D. leader doesn't pay much attention to her. Not many people were sent to arrest her. After all, apart from stealing artworks, Black Cat has basically not done anything bad. She didn't steal artworks for profit or resale. Instead, she treasured it and maintained it professionally, taking better care of it than the average rich man. So Hill has a lot of things on her hands now. As for the matter of Black Cat escaping from prison, as long as there is no real big trouble, she doesn't want to care at all. Although she knows that those artworks are important cultural treasures of mankind, Hill really can't understand the difference between the paintings of abstract masters and the tablecloth stained by the spaghetti she accidentally spilled while eating lunch. And today, Black Cat succeeded again. Although the New York City police have been closely monitored, if S.H.I.E.L.D. hadn't intervened the last time Black Cat was arrested, ordinary police would not have been able to catch her. She patted the bag on her back with satisfaction. There was a manuscript of Masaccio, a great painter of the Renaissance, in it. Although it was not a finished painting, those sketches and line drawings also had a unique beauty. Black Cat couldn't wait to go home and look at these manuscripts carefully. Just as she used the zipline to move quickly between the high-rise buildings in the city and avoid the pursuit of the police, two white spider silks suddenly shot from the side. Black Cat saw the white object from the corner of her eyes, and she dodged nimbly. She dodged two spider silk attacks with a high difficulty of almost 720 degrees in the air. However, this also forced her to fall on the roof of a 10-story apartment building. If it weren't for the safety protection device of the zipline, she would have almost fallen. In front of her, a guy in a red and blue tights appeared, and the spider silk was shot by him. Black Cat knew him, the guy called Spider-Man. "Give up, lady. I don't want to arrest you by violence." Spider-Man pointed at her, but still showed a certain gentlemanly demeanor. After all, Black Cat is not the kind of vicious criminal. Apart from stealing the rich man's art, Peter did not find any other criminal record of her. So he would always be a little polite to ladies. Of course, it is necessary to tie her up with spider silk. Otherwise, the New York police will probably not be able to catch her when they come later. Black Cat, who was blocked on the roof of the apartment building by Spider-Man, looked around. There was no place nearby that she could use for shelter. It was impossible to surrender without a fight. She had to think of a way to get out of the current predicament. Felicity looked Spider-Man up and down, Maybe she found a good way. A smile hung on the corner of her mouth, and 2 dimples appeared. Chapter 463 Cat and Mouse Game. You are Spider-Man. Black Cat, who saw Spider-Man, was like a crazy fan who saw her favorite star. She said in an unbelievable and admiring tone. The light in her eyes was like the stars in the sky. I believe that anyone who heard her voice and saw her expression would regard her as a harmless and beautiful lady. And Black Cat did just that. She put the bag on her back directly on the ground. It seemed that she didn't care about the precious manuscripts in the bag at all. She looked so unguarded and walked towards Spider-Man quickly, even jogging all the way. She looked like a star chaser, running towards Spider-Man and saying, "Can you sign an autograph for me? I am your most loyal fan." Huh? This was the first time Peter had encountered such a situation in his life. In the past, no matter what suspects he helped the police arrest, those guys would either resist stubbornly or even want to kill him, or seize every opportunity to escape. This kind of suspect who was begging for his autograph while flashing starry eyes was the first time he encountered such a suspect. And from his spider sense, the other party had no ill will towards him, because the spider sense did not alarm. Unlike Gwen, who still looked like a young girl and a little immature. Black Cat is already 25 years old this year, and long-term exercise has given her a proud good figure. The slender waist and slender and tight thighs are tightly wrapped in a set of black leather clothes, swaying with the pace of Black Cat. And her upper body bust is also eye-catching. Well, Gwen should lose miserably in this regard. Peter searched his memory, and I am afraid that only Natasha, the Black Widow in Agents of SHIELD, can compete with Black Cat in figure, but Black Cat may have an advantage in height. Although the two are equally sexy, she is taller than Black Widow. This is a perfect queen-like beauty. The long silver white hair sways in the wind as Black Cat walks, but it is very rhythmic. Just imagine, there is a super stunning beauty, who is flirting with you, and shouting that she is your fan and worships you extremely, and beg you to give her an autograph. What would you do? Refuse? I'm afraid few men would be so cruel, especially a boy like Peter Parker who is not very mature yet. Peter wanted to use spider silk to trap the Black Cat who was running towards him, but was interrupted by the Black Cat's cry, "I am willing to go with you. It is my honor to be caught by you, Spider-Man. You can't guess how much I want to see you. Those New York police are all idiots. They can't catch me. I know you like to help the police. I want to attract your attention. Let you see me. You know, seeing you today, I feel that all my dreams have come true." The Black Cat jumped and jumped excitedly. It looks like a crazy star chaser. Doing some extreme things to meet your idol, even if it is a crime, has happened more than once or twice in real life. But this is often a treatment that only some super idols and Hollywood stars can enjoy. Peter Parker never thought that he would have such a crazy fan one day, which made him a little flattered. Especially when such a fan is a super beauty, this feeling makes Peter feel even better. Although he still said with a serious face, "Madam, you are breaking the law, you know? No matter how much you want to see her, you can't do it this way, it will put you in jail. And stealing famous paintings is also a felony." I know. Black Cat continued in an excited tone, "I didn't sell any famous paintings and artworks, they are all in my warehouse. I just want to meet you. As long as I get your signature, I will return those things to their original owners and turn myself in." If this is really the case, it's not bad, Peter thought. If there is no loss, there shouldn't be too many problems. Peter was very happy with Black Cat's behavior like a fanatical fan, and Black Cat's next move made Peter Parker, who had not experienced many similar tests, feel uneasy. "Sign for me, please." Black Cat took out a marker pen from somewhere and handed it to Peter. "Will you turn yourself in after signing?" Peter took the pen and asked. "Of course." "Well, where do you need to sign?" "An autograph book." Peter glanced at Black Cat and didn't think she had anything like an autograph book. Black Cat Felicity just smiled at Peter and bent down, showing the lines of her back and hips directly in front of Peter. Black Cat in a tight leather jacket had an extremely hot body, and just by bending down like this, she exposed the beauty of her entire curves in front of Peter. This made Peter's ears red, but what made him even more excited was what Black Cat did next. Felicity found the zipper at the bottom of her pants with her fingers. She slowly pulled up the silver white zipper, because her tight leather pants were actually designed with such zippers on the sides of both legs for the convenience of wearing. From the ankle part, it extended to the waist zipper. With the friction sound of the zipper, Phileas's wheat-colored legs were constantly exposed in front of Peter. At first, it was just the ankle, then the tied and elastic calf. Then came her beautiful knee joints, and finally the round and powerful thigh part. Phileas pulled the zipper to the highest point. Her entire slender legs, including her buttocks, were exposed to Peter. Phileas put one hand on Peter's shoulder and pinched his chin with the other hand. Her face was just pressed against Peter's Spider-Man mask. Peter could feel the body temperature transmitted through the fabric, as well as the pleasant body fragrance from the black cat. Fortunately, Peter's face was blocked by the mask, otherwise everyone would find that he was like a cooked shrimp. "Sign here, what do you think?" Phileas whispered in Peter's ear, and the hot breath she exhaled made Peter's ears itch. At the same time, she hooked one leg around Peter's waist and gestured on her thigh with her left hand. She pulled Peter's hand holding the marker pen and let him touch the root of her inner thigh, so that he could sign on the inner thigh. "Sign here, I will find a tattoo artist to tattoo your name here, so that you will always be with me," Black Cat whispered to Peter in an almost psychedelic voice. Peter, who couldn't stand the stimulation from Black Cat, finally couldn't hold it back, and blood gushed out of his nose crazily. Black Cat Felicia didn't use any violent means to force this superhero to start bleeding. Anyway, at least the nasal mucosa was damaged, and the nosebleed could not be stopped at all. Wow. Before Peter finished his story, Luigi stood up excitedly. He couldn't wait to ask, "What's next?" Nightwalker's eyes flashed with a light called gossip. Peter suddenly thought, is it really right to ask this person for help? Chapter 464 The loss is not unfair. Black Cat is very tall. When she stands up straight, she is almost as tall as Peter Parker. Peter's height has always been a flaw. Although his muscle density has increased after being bitten by a spider, his strength and reaction have also increased. But Peter's height has not grown, and he still maintains a height of about 1.7 meters. This has always been a concern for Peter. When the three friends went out together, Luigi is now almost 1.85 meters tall. Harry is also 1.8 meters tall, and only Peter Parker is less than 1.75 meters, which is half a head shorter than his two friends. Fortunately, Peter's girlfriend Gwen is not particularly tall, about 1.68 meters tall. If he doesn't wear high heels, Peter is still a little confident. But even if Black Cat doesn't wear high heels, she is the same height as Peter Parker. She can just stand and put her face against Peter's face. I don't know if the fragrance on Black Cat comes from shampoo, shower gel, or perfume. Anyway, the slightly sweet but charming fragrance kept drilling into Peter's nose. From the charming face of the Black Cat, the slender neck, the earlobes inlaid with amethyst earrings, and the occasional wrists. These fragrances emanated from all parts of the Black Cat's body, and were constantly destroying Peter's resistance. Peter Parker probably had never seen such a formation in his life. What the Black Cat was doing now was the most serious shock in his life. From psychological to physical. The beautiful Felicia rubbed Peter's masked head with her delicate face. Such a slight friction was accompanied by Felicia's breath with body temperature sprayed on Peter's face. It was as if he was really being intimated by a tame cat. But ordinary cats would never gently bite their earlobes with their teeth, and even pull them intimately. The Black Cat gently rubbed Peter's waist with her exposed legs, and she hooked Peter's waist so that he could not escape. Or Peter had forgotten how to escape. No, I can't do this. Peter tried to clear his mind. He wanted to push Black Cat away, but was interrupted by her clever laughter. What? Although Felicia used a question, her tone was full of temptation. It's just an autograph. For a fan like me, isn't it worth leaving an autograph? Black Cat's second half of the sentence even had a hint of resentment. She pressed her body tightly against Peter, biting Peter's ear and whispering in his ear, "It's just an autograph, it's nothing, right? It's just an autograph, just an autograph." Peter repeatedly warned himself in his heart. But now he has forgotten his original intention. He came to arrest Black Cat, not to get her autograph. There is no doubt that Black Cat has taken the initiative now. She used her ability to fascinate people to make the inexperienced Peter dizzy and confused, and he couldn't tell where he was. She gently pressed Peter's shoulders so that he could squat down and leave Spider-Man's name on her thigh. Although the pair of slender hands looked as weak as those of an ordinary girl. But she only needed to press down gently, and the famous Spider-Man in New York City would move in the direction of her hand pressing. Peter was completely confused. He didn't know who he was now, Nor did he know what he should do. The sweet fragrance of the black cat, the residual temperature of her body when she hugged him, and the amazing touch and elasticity. Or the long legs that were now in front of him, showing a wheat-colored luster. If Peter and Gwen's love affair is a campus youth idol love movie, this encounter with a black cat is like a young boy who is not deeply in the world meeting a beautiful and charming lady who wants to abduct him. This is a completely different shock, and Peter has no idea what he should do. Just like being played by the black cat, he followed the other party's requirements step by step. He felt that he had lost the ability to think, and was at her mercy like a puppet. When Peter wanted to sign his name on her thigh as required by the black cat, a odorless gas sprayed out from the black cat's belt. The smell was just like her perfume. Peter couldn't tell the difference at all. He just felt his head suddenly a little dizzy, and when he took a few seconds to come back to his senses, Black Cat had disappeared with the stolen manuscript. Only Peter was left, half kneeling on the rooftop like a fool. When Black Cat left, she left some souvenirs for Peter, including a note that said goodnight, fool, and a red lip kiss mark on Peter's face. This was left after Black Cat half opened Peter's mask. Luigi and Harry sat opposite Peter and listened to his story about his first meeting with Black Cat. The two looked at each other and shook their heads. This was obviously a seduction technique. If Black Cat was really as beautiful and charming as Peter described, it would be normal for Peter to fall for it. This guy had never been in a relationship before with Gwen, and Gwen was a girl with strict family education. George's way of dealing with people showed how he disciplined Gwen. If it's this time, it's nothing. This is a gentle trap set for you by the beautiful female thief. But you foolishly jumped into it. Luigi touched his chin. Seduction is a very vulgar, but very effective method. Especially when dealing with innocent boys, it is very useful. Harry's face looked a little better, but you continued to meet this woman called Black Cat later. Peter nodded helplessly. Yes. Because of the last time he was teased by Black Cat, Peter felt a strong sense of humiliation after being teased. Even if it has nothing to do with the New York police, Peter is bound to arrest Black Cat. This is a very complicated emotion. Just anger? It's not that simple. Is it angry or does it include other reactions? Peter himself can't tell. After all, when Black Cat said that she was a fan of Spider-Man, acted like a super brainless fan, and exerted some temptations on Peter, he was still very useful. Spider-Man wandering around the city is just to catch Black Cat? Peter himself couldn't explain it clearly. Maybe he wanted to see her again. Although she played a trick on him, she left him a kiss in the end. The hood was only half lifted, and Peter's appearance and identity were not exposed. Black Cat was very decisive in doing things. She always tickled you in the most attractive place, but people couldn't figure out what she was thinking. A beautiful female thief, an identity that easily aroused men's reverie, but sometimes there was only a fine line between reverie and fantasy. When Peter once again cooperated with the police to capture Black Cat, he told himself that he couldn't be fooled by this woman again. After seeing her, he couldn't say anything or ask anything. Just tie her up and hand her over to the police. The idea was good, but sometimes plans couldn't keep up with changes. Black Cat manipulated the zipline to move forward between the high-rise buildings according to the route she had calculated. Behind her was Spider-Man, who was chasing closely. Spider-Man looked a little angry at this moment, because she provoked his mother last time? Felicia smiled silently. Do you really want to catch me? Felicia shouted to Peter while dodging a spider's silk. I am your #1 female fan, and maybe even the most beautiful one. Do you really have the heart to do it? Peter didn't intend to respond. He just wanted to catch this woman first. Don't be so angry. Didn't I give you a kiss as compensation? Black Cat said in a teasing tone. The two moved quickly in the city. Peter relied on spider silk, while Black Cat relied on the equipment he made in the route he planned early. I have nothing to talk about with a thief. Peter Parker was really angry, or rather very angry. This kind of anger was not simply the anger caused by not catching Black Cat last time, but Peter couldn't say what it was specifically. Do you really not care about me at all? Or do you think I am not attractive at all? Who was the one who stared at my thighs last time? Black Cat's words made Peter blush, but he quickly suppressed it. Don't say these useless things, you'd better surrender. This way the sentence will be lighter. Peter was already very close to Black Cat, and she said indifferently, if Spider-Man doesn't care about me anymore, what does it matter how heavy the sentence is? As she spoke, Black Cat did something that Peter Parker could never have imagined. She let go of the zipline and her body began to fall freely. This is more than 70 meters high. If she fell down, she would immediately turn into a meat pie. Peter reacted subconsciously in an instant, and he began to accelerate towards the place where Black Cat fell. He caught her before she landed, and immediately left the neighborhood with spider silk. Are you crazy? If I hadn't caught you just now, you would have fallen to death. Peter couldn't help but curse while looking for a suitable foothold to tie up this woman. Felicia's crazy behavior was beyond his calculation. Felicia's long white hair fluttered in the night wind. Didn't you catch it? My superhero. I think I should give you a little reward. As she spoke, she slowly lifted Peter's mask. Peter was holding Felicia with one hand and shooting spider silk with the other hand. He had no time to stop Felicia from doing anything. Black Cat slowly lifted Peter's mask to the height of his nose and stopped. She showed a sly smile. Black Cat hugged Peter's head and pressed her lips against Peter's lips. When Spider-Man was wandering over New York City, Black Cat gave Peter a passionate kiss, a kiss that made him truly understand the meaning of the word French kiss. Felicia's passionate deep kiss seemed to never stop, and she once again made Peter's brain fall into chaos. After listening to Peter's story, Lee G and Harry suddenly felt that it was not unfair for Peter to lose to Black Cat. If Lee G were asked to find a word to describe what the Black Cat did, he could only think of one word: annoying little goblin. Chapter 465 The Price of Growth. For Lee G and Harry, if Peter's words were not a lie, they could fully understand what Peter had done wrong. Black Cat was a powerful woman, and she brought her feminine charm to the extreme. This was a kind of woman that Peter had never seen before. He had almost no resistance to such things. Because compared with Lee G and Harry, Peter was too simple. Needless to say, Lee G was a real human being. It can be seen from the fact that he could deal with various forces, connect an underground organization, and even change the world. And Harry was not inferior in this regard. As a super rich man, Harry had experienced various temptations since he was very young. Especially after he entered high school. All kinds of women surrounded him for various purposes. All kinds of women, either charming and seductive, or pure and stunning. Mary Jane was not Harry's first love. Before this, Harry had had relationships with many women, which was intentional by Norman Osborn. As a super rich man, such temptations would be inevitable in the future. Norman had always been behind Harry to help him check and prevent him from crossing the line. But he was pushed into various red-hot places to train his determination for beauty. So now Harry can show his own demeanor in front of the opposite sex in necessary social occasions, but he is always very restrained. He knows very well what he wants. He only loves Mary Jane, that's all. But Peter is different. He is too simple, so simple that he is easily exploited. Lee G and Harry have heard from the story that Peter is just being played by the Black Cat in various ways. It's just that the person involved is not clear in his mind now. Since Spider-Man was confused by the Black Cat's kiss, he can't figure out how to face the Black Cat. Because before that, Peter and Gwen had only kissed each other. And both of them were first loves. Don't mention kissing skills between two novices, it doesn't exist. You are a very good kisser. You are the same. This is just commercial mutual flattery, and noobs are learning from each other. Peter always thought that kissing was a sacred thing, just like he believed in the sacredness of love. The appearance of the Black Cat completely disrupted his heart. He didn't know how to face this woman. This was exactly what Black Cat wanted. Black Cat smiled and left Spider-Man with a distant back, leaving Peter standing there stupidly. The Justice League currently has as many as 75 members, including 12 core members. The rest are peripheral members who are on probation. Like Moonbird you saw before, she is one of the earliest core members to join the Justice League. Kick-Ass David was talking to Mindy and Laura in his green one-piece tight diving suit. They were now in the 6th block of Brooklyn, which is usually where Kick-Ass is active. It is also one of the areas in New York City with very bad public security. Since the last time he saw the extraordinary twin combination of Mindy and Laura and fought with them, David tried every means to pull the two into the organization. Although Mindy always looked aloof, and Laura never expressed her opinion. This made David a little frustrated. Can Moonbird be considered a core member? Mindy was a little puzzled. In terms of combat power, Moonbird was just an ordinary person, and it was not related to the core members of an organization anyway. We don't determine our status by our fighting ability. David waved his hand. Although Moonbird is not good at fighting, she has helped many people. She has rescued dozens of women who might be sexually assaulted because of drunkenness. David said seriously, it is far better to prevent crime than to hold criminals accountable afterwards. This is also the original intention of our establishment of the Justice League, including patrolling and helping others to improve the sense of security in the community. Reducing the crime rate is always better than simply fighting crime. What David said made some sense, so Mindy and Laura looked at each other, and the two did not refute what David said. Then why did you come to us? Just to treat us to ice cream. Mindy and Laura both held a box of ice cream in their hands. This was bought by David from the 7-Eleven convenience store. 2 boxes of high-end ice cream cost David 7 days of pocket money, and he felt unprecedented pain. For cooperation, about the cooperation between the Justice League and the Extraordinary Twins. David did not hide it. Most of the members of the Justice League are ordinary people. Apart from me, only Colonel has strong combat capability. Colonel is a retired member of the Marine Corps. I contacted Nightwalker when I applied to register the organization with the Nightwatch League. I know him. He provided us with some simple equipment, such as the positioning belt that Moonbird used when she contacted me before. If there is any abnormal problem with a member of the organization, we can quickly find her through the positioning belt. Mindy really didn't know about Nightwalker's private support for the Justice League. The members of the Justice League are ordinary people from all walks of life in New York City. We can get a lot of information, but there are many things that the Justice League cannot solve alone. Only a small number of combat-capable members such as me and the Colonel cannot fully take care of all the other members. David was a little helpless when he said this, just like the last time you saw Moonbird. If you two were not there, Moonbird would definitely be injured when I came to support her. So you want to find a babysitter. Mindy didn't like banana-flavored ice cream very much, so she opened her ice cream and scooped a spoonful and fed it directly to Laura. Laura liked this flavor very much, and she finished her ice cream quickly. So the two little girls sat side by side, and Mindy scooped ice cream and fed Laura one spoonful at a time. So, I think we should have a lot of things to communicate, right? You want to fight criminals, and the Justice League can help you provide information. David said seriously. Why don't you just find the Nightwatch Alliance and cooperate with them? Mindy glanced at David. And David said a little unconfidently, well, the criminals we can contact are all small criminals. The Nightwatch may not be interested. We can't contact the Nightwalker because of a thief who stole $50. Mindy shrugged, that's not necessarily true. As far as I know, there are guys in the Nightwatch who like to meddle in such matters, such as Spider-Man. David was a little embarrassed, but I don't know Spider-Man. It doesn't matter, you have a chance to meet him. Look, isn't that guy right there? Mindy pointed to the 10 o'clock direction, and she saw Spider-Man holding a girl and slowly landing in a small alley. You may take this opportunity to get to know him. Mindy patted David on the shoulder. The latter was a little unsure. Really? Is the girl he's holding his girlfriend? Aren't they dating or something? Won't we disturb him? You'll know when you go and see. I really want to know who Spider-Man's girlfriend is. Mindy's gossipy soul was burning. In the nearly 1 year she lived with Nightcrawler and Spider-Man, she knew from daily conversations that Spider-Man had a girlfriend. Mindy has always been very interested in who Spider-Man's girlfriend is. Because Peter has always been Mindy's tutor and they often play games together. So Mindy has always had a very good relationship with him. She pulled Mindy and David quietly towards the place where Spider-Man landed. You can't do this anymore. Just as they approached this direction, Mindy heard Spider-Man's familiar voice. What? Another voice was a very seductive female voice. Mindy frowned when she heard this voice. You can't kiss me without my consent. Spider-Man's voice sounded a little exasperated. Mindy had already pulled Laura and David to hide on the roof of one side to observe Spider-Man and Black Cat. Is that seductive woman Spider-Man's girlfriend? Mindy didn't believe it, because from the words and phrases in daily life, Mindy knew that Spider-Man's girlfriend was a girl with strict family education and was still a student. The sexy and hot woman had nothing to do with strict family education. And those paintings, you must return them. Spider-Man looked a little excited and shouted to Black Cat. Don't be excited, don't you feel that the kiss just now is not enough? I can do it again. Black Cat said and once again wrapped his hands around Peter. No. Peter covered his mouth with his hands to prevent Black Cat from kissing him again. He was already dizzy from the hot kiss just now, and he didn't want to do it again. And this time Black Cat didn't kiss Peter's lips, but kissed his neck fiercely. Mindy, who was far away, was sure that this woman must not be Spider-Man's girlfriend. She could be sure from the conversation just now. This made Hit Girl feel very angry. Spider-Man and Nightcrawler have always been regarded as brothers and role models by her. And the brother whom he had always trusted and regarded as a role model was actually having an affair with a female thief? Exclamation mark. Mindy took out her mobile phone without thinking much, and she chose the video function. She wanted to record the evidence. Peter and Black Cat had not noticed Mindy in the distance until Mindy turned off the video function, switched the phone to the camera function and started taking pictures, and the shutter sounded, which alerted them. It looks like someone is there. I'm leaving first, bye. Black Cat left a deep kiss mark on Peter's neck and jumped away, blowing Peter a kiss before leaving. Peter was so confused by Black Cat tonight that he didn't react at all and was run away by Black Cat. Who? Peter shouted in the direction of the sound. A petite black figure fell from the sky. Although she was disguised, Peter still recognized who the girl was at a glance. After all, he and Mindy were super familiar with each other after more than a year of daily life. Spider-Man, you are a complete bastard. Don't tell me that this charming enchantress is your girlfriend. Mindy took out her cell phone, which contained the video and photo of Black Cat kissing Peter. Seeing these things, Peter broke out in a cold sweat. No, I mean things are not as simple as you see. Can you give me your phone first? Huh? Mindy sneered disdainfully. Do you still want to quibble? I've heard your conversation with the Nightwalker. Your girlfriend is not such a woman in Nightwalker's mouth, or have you changed her now? I said, it's not as simple as you think. Peter couldn't help but yelled at Mindy, and what are you doing dressed like this? Are you playing the game of Hit Girl again? Mindy snorted coldly. She exerted force with her hand, completely crushed her phone and threw it in front of Peter. It's none of your business. I have uploaded the information to the cloud disk. I don't care about your mess, but you don't care about me. If you dare to tell anyone about me, I will post everything I saw today on the internet, so that everyone can see the character behind Spider-Man. He is actually having an affair with a female thief. Mindy said coldly, then turned and walked into the darkness. Peter finished talking about everything that happened during this period, and he regretted it deeply. Gwen's breakup, Mindy's distrust and breakup with him, and even his two old friends treated him badly. He felt unprecedented powerlessness, and he paid a deep price for his momentary loss of control. Peter's head was deeply lowered, holding his face with both hands and crying silently. Luigi looked at Peter's current state and shook his head, and Harry had the same expression. Luigi actually didn't think it was a bad thing for Peter to experience these things. Because compared to Peter's original life journey, Peter in this world lived too smoothly. Uncle Ben didn't die, and Peter didn't learn that the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. Gwen didn't die because of the Electro incident, so Peter didn't experience the pain of losing his love. He didn't understand the importance of the love of his life. At the same time, he didn't break up with Harry, the most important friend in his life, and didn't understand the importance of choice and responsibility. And in the original life, Uncle Ben's death put Peter's family into a financial crisis, and Aunt May applied for a credit card but was rejected just for a pot given by the bank. Even later, he had to rely on selling his property to make a living. Peter Parker also needs to be busy every day. In addition to studying and fighting criminals, he also has to deliver pizzas and work as a part-time photojournalist at the newspaper. He has experienced all kinds of despair and lows in life. After constant tempering, he finally became the unique Spider-Man in the Marvel world. In the original life trajectory, everything Peter Parker has experienced has changed in this world. Without those setbacks, life is as sweet as honey to him. Smooth love, smooth career, fighting criminals has become a hobby rather than a firm belief. Everything he does has become a dispensable thing. Although Spider-Man in the original story likes to play and joke, he has an indelible depth in his heart. It is something engraved in the depths of the soul. It is that kind of trait that makes Peter Parker stand up again no matter how many setbacks he has experienced. Unlike now, he is frivolous and impetuous. George doesn't like him and thinks that he is not worthy of Gwen because of this. Luigi stood up and patted Peter on the shoulder. Maybe this is the setback he has to experience on the way to becoming Spider-Man. Growth always requires some price. I just hope that Peter can truly understand himself from these blows and transform into a real Spider-Man. Otherwise, the gap between him and Luigi and Harry will only get bigger and bigger. P.S. Peter's life in this universe is too smooth, so smooth that he forgets everything. Some small setbacks are the driving force for Spider-Man to move forward and transform. Don't worry, I won't feed shit to you book friends, let alone poison your shit. Of course, I won't whitewash Spider-Man. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466 The end is just another new beginning. For Gwen, these recent days have been a bit difficult. Gwen's life has been smooth since she was a child. She has a face and brains that other female classmates envy. She has a happy family that others admire. In the internship group of Osborn Group, she is the one most valued by the professor. She is a role model for her younger brothers and sisters, and she is the pride of this family. Her father and mother love her and have not made her have any spoiled personality. Although she is indeed very outstanding, she can try her best to treat everyone kindly. Gwen has hardly experienced failure and setbacks since she was a child. She always requires herself to do her best in all aspects. You can say that she is strong and never admits defeat, or that she is ambitious, but no matter what, this is a part of her character. Independence is Gwen's characteristic, and it is also because of her excellence and independence. Since junior high school, there have been many boys who have begun to have a crush on her. After high school, including the stars of the school basketball team and the football team, they all wanted to date her. But she rejected them one by one. Because she knew very well what she wanted, and those guys were not her type. Until she met Peter. Although this boy was a little slick, he had a special charm when he was serious about doing things. In terms of handsomeness or figure, Peter was not as good as those boys who pursued Gwen in the school basketball team. Compared with most people, Peter did not have much advantage in appearance, especially in height. He was only a little taller than herself. But such a boy attracted Gwen's attention. Compared with his peers who only knew how to be handsome and cool, Peter always had a variety of knowledge and various novel ideas in his mind. The various insights proposed by this boy in biology and genetics could make those old professors feel enlightened. It was because of this that this boy received more and more attention from Gwen. When did she fall in love with him? Gwen didn't know, everything seemed to come naturally. The first time Peter clumsily invited her to dinner, she still remembered that it was when they went to Luigi's house and he had just got a dining car. Although sometimes the two would quarrel over small things, they never really got angry. There was a little romance and a little warmth. Gwen wanted to plan her love route in her own way, just like she planned her life. She originally thought that her love story with this boy would go on so peacefully and move towards perfection, according to her plan. Until the appearance of the kiss mark, all the peace was broken. She didn't want to listen to Peter's explanation, because she knew what it meant, and any explanation was futile. Explanations and cover-ups were excuses, and all excuses were just to cover up the truth. Gwen knew very well what she wanted, and she didn't want a blinded truth, so she proposed a breakup. But why did her heart hurt so much? Obviously it was Peter who did something wrong, but why was she so sad? This was unfair. Gwen curled up in bed with her arms around her legs and buried her face behind her legs. She didn't cry, but was just sad. Next to Gwen sat her other two good friends. One was her classmate Ivy, and the other was Mary Jane. Mary Jane was Harry's girlfriend, and Gwen had always had a good relationship with Harry. Mary was an elegant, calm, extremely gentle and strong woman, and she was 2 years older than Gwen. At a young age, she has become a rising star in Broadway musicals. She can be said to be a representative of the new era of women, independent and daring. Gwen quickly fell in love with this girl who was 2 years older than her, because she could always find the same topics with Mary. Ivy and Mary were not familiar with each other, but she knew that Gwen was in a bad mood recently and seemed to have quarreled with her boyfriend. She wanted to comfort her good sister. "Okay Gwen, it's just a man, it's no big deal." Ivy sat next to Gwen and hugged Gwen's shoulders. It's impossible not to encounter a few scumbags in a person's life. Not everyone's feelings can go smoothly. You will get used to it after a few more heartbreaks. Instead of thinking about these, you might as well think about something else. I recently received a new job. Drawing the scripts for Deadpool and Hawkeye. You know I can't do without your scripts. You are the best in this regard. Just like the Spider-Man scripts you wrote, They are always well received. Mary couldn't help shaking her head when she heard Ivy's words, although Ivy said this to make Gwen happy and divert her attention. But such words could not comfort Gwen at all. Gwen forced a smile at Ivy. She leaned her head on Ivy's shoulder, and Ivy gently patted her back. Mary, why am I so upset when it's obviously not my fault? Why can't Peter be like Harry? Gwen said sadly. Mary looked at Gwen. Do you know? In fact, Harry often goes home with the scent of different women's perfume. Just this light sentence made Gwen a little surprised. Oh my God, Harry also. Mary shook her head. Things are complicated, girl. It's not as simple as you think. She sat next to Gwen and took one of Gwen's hands. Harry is the chairman of the Osborne Group. In his position, you can guess how many women are around him. All kinds of social and entertainment, business matters, those competitors can use any dirty means. Although Mary said these words with a smile, Gwen pursed her lips when she heard it, but Harry didn't do anything wrong, right? If you were me, would you believe him if you saw him going home with the scent of different women every day? Mary looked at Gwen with a smile. Gwen shook her head under Mary's gaze. Her personality couldn't do this. So you trust Harry so much? Gwen suddenly hated Harry. But Mary said something else, because Harry also believes in me. I have performed all kinds of love and hate with other men on stage. Even when I go on tour, I often don't return to New York for a month. I think you should know the chaos in this circle. Whether it is a model or an actor, gossip and scandals are often reported in the newspapers. Some things are groundless, but many are true. I have been away for a long time and hung out with these people, and Harry also believes in me. Mary lifted a strand of her hair. If our positions were switched, Peter would become Harry, and you would become me. How long do you think your relationship could last? Gwen was stunned for a moment when she heard this question, and finally gritted her teeth. Maybe no more than 3 days. Mary took Gwen's hand and patted the back of her hand. Trust is mutual, and friction between lovers is inevitable. Communication is always better than quarreling, and even if we break up, it won't be too ugly. Mary looked at Gwen with a smile, but Ivy suddenly said, are you persuading Gwen to reconcile with Peter? No. Mary shook her head. Emotional setbacks are just a simple level in life experience, and it is something that everyone has to go through. My love for Harry is different from yours and Peter. Both of you are rookies with no experience in love. Peter couldn't resist the temptation, and you were also thrown into disarray by a slight setback in love. In fact, it's not a big deal yet. Mary couldn't help but shake her head slightly when she said this. Harry told me truthfully that he had had many girlfriends before. Some of them were chosen by himself, and some were chosen by his father Norman. And I had also dated other men before I dated Harry. We have experienced these things and know what we want in our hearts. Keep your guard up and don't cross the line. This is the most important thing. Only when you really understand what you need can you really face your feelings. You and Peter are both flowers that have not experienced the wind and rain. There will always be many things that are taken for granted in a smooth life, but life will not go according to your plan. There are always twists and turns on the road, and we always have to find ways to overcome obstacles. For Harry and me, love is mutual trust and support. You and Peter still need more growth. Gwen listened to Mary's words quietly and lowered her head quietly. And the same conversation was also told to Peter by Harry. It was a week later that Gwen was willing to see Peter again. At 9 o'clock, she heard the sound of knocking on the glass. Peter was on the fire escape on the 30th floor of her house. Gwen didn't know how Peter was able to climb up, as the fire escape in this apartment building had safety devices. But Gwen was willing to meet Peter in the end and tell him what she had been thinking about for more than a week. Good evening. The two stood on the independent balcony of Gwen's house. Peter seemed a little reserved, just like when he first met Gwen. And Gwen was the same. I said. The two spoke at the same time, and then fell silent at the same time. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Finally, Peter spoke first. You should speak first. Gwen smiled. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have hit you last time. No matter what, it's always bad to resort to violence for some things. After all, my father is a policeman, and he always warns me not to use violence for problems that can be solved rationally. Peter waved his hand quickly. No, it's my fault. I didn't resist the temptation, and as a boyfriend, I was not honest with you. Although it's not the case now. After Peter said this, the two fell silent again. Gwen looked up at the night view of New York City and asked absent-mindedly, can you tell me why you are dishonest? Mary told me that communication is always good, even as ordinary friends. Peter took a deep breath and said, there are many things. If you have time, I want to start with the Osborn group. Peter Parker told a lot of things, all about himself, including his becoming Spider-Man. He also showed Gwen his abilities. There was also the matter of Black Cat. I am not saying this to ask for your forgiveness. Peter took a cup of water stuck by spider silk from his hand and said, I ask myself, I can't deny that I was moved or shaken by Black Cat, and I betrayed you at that moment. I can't expect forgiveness. I just said it because I think there are things I need to tell you. My thoughts are always naive sometimes, for you, and for some other things including feelings. I am too self-righteous. Peter was in a low mood, but he was very sincere. He has been reflecting on himself for a week, and the final result of his thinking is that he is not worthy of forgiveness. Wrong is wrong, and you have to pay the price for doing wrong. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to push Black Cat away, but he wavered. The only purpose of his coming today was to confess his mistakes to Gwen. His mistakes should not make others feel uncomfortable. Gwen looked at Peter deeply. It's not bad, at least I have dated a superhero. Yes, you also drew my comics with Ivy. Peter suddenly thought of this. After hearing that you're a screenwriter, I begged you in Central Park not to be Ivy's screenwriter. What stupid things are you talking about? Gwen's face suddenly turned red, like a cooked shrimp. She couldn't help but pat Peter on the back. The relationship between the two seemed to be harmonious again. Until the laughter and playfulness calmed down again, the two knew that some things still existed after all. Gwen looked at the night view and said, I'm going to be an exchange student at the University of London for a year. She spoke in a very soft voice, and Peter asked in the same soft voice, why? My life is too simple. I have always been taken care of by my parents, teachers, and you. Gwen shook her head. I have never tried to be truly independent, and I have never suffered setbacks and failures in my life. It may seem successful, but perhaps just one blow can make me fall into despair and madness. Gwen looked at Peter's eyes seriously, and Peter could see the light flashing in Gwen's beautiful blue eyes, just like the relationship with you, Peter. Can't I stay? Peter couldn't help asking this question. Gwen shook her head at him. When are you leaving? 5 days later. I want to get familiar with the situation in London before school starts. The two chatted on the rooftop like ordinary friends, talking about future studies and life, and the question of how many times it rains in London in a year. New York International Airport. On the day Gwen left, her friends all came to see her off, including Lee G, Harry and Peter. Gwen gave everyone a big hug. After all, they would not see each other again for at least a year. As an exchange student, Gwen had made a very busy life and study plan for herself. In a place where she was unfamiliar with everyone, she might encounter many accidents. So she would not have time to come back even during the holidays. Goodbye. Gwen hugged Peter for the last time and said calmly, have a safe journey. Maybe I will visit you in London when I have time. Peter forced a smile. Then I will find the most delicious fish and chips to treat you. Gwen said very seriously. Everyone laughed. When Peter watched Gwen board the plane, when Gwen looked at the land under her feet that was getting farther and farther away from her. Both of them seemed to have something in their hearts that was hard to explain. A long journey does not mean leaving forever. When you think something symbolizes the end, it is actually just starting again from another starting point. At this moment, Peter and Gwen both felt that they were growing up. In Osborn Manor, Harry hugged Mary tightly, and he deeply breathed the fragrance from Mary's hair. Seeing Peter and Gwen, I realized how important you are in my life. Mary, please never leave me, okay? Is this a true confession? Mary also hugged Harry, and she touched Harry's nose with her finger mischievously. But can you promise to love me like this forever? I promise. Harry said solemnly, anyone who tries to take you away from me must step over my dead body. I love to hear this love talk. Mary smiled and gave Harry a deep kiss. If you like, let me be your guardian knight forever. Harry suddenly knelt on one knee and took out a small and exquisite box from his pocket. He opened the box and found a carefully selected diamond ring inside. The facets of the diamond ring reflected dazzling colors in the sun. Harry stared into Mary's eyes and said sincerely, Miss Mary Jane Watson, please marry me. Harry solemnly said the oath of marriage proposal. Mary looked at Harry in disbelief. She thought she was dreaming. But this dream was so real, and great joy instantly filled her body. Her eyes instantly condensed into mist. Mary took the ring and said in a slightly trembling but happy tone, "Then please ask my knight to put the ring on me." "Glad to serve, my princess." Luigi returned home with 2 movie tickets in his hand. Because of Peter and Gwen's affairs, he also thought about a lot of things. Whether it is good or bad, inexplicable irritability or other. This world cannot make you happy in everything. Sometimes missed things will make people regret. He knocked on Lan's door, and Lan was studying the wizard's notes. "Are you free tonight, Lan?" Luigi asked. "Yes, what's the matter? Do you need me to help you open a space door somewhere?" Lan turned around and glanced at Luigi. "No, I just want to invite you to the movies." Luigi raised the movie ticket in his hand. Lan tilted his head in thought for a while and then laughed. "Okay. Peter is still living in Luigi's house recently, because Gwen's departure still affects him. He wants to get some comfort from his old friend. But today Luigi doesn't seem to intend to pay attention to him at all, and he doesn't even intend to play PS4 with him. This makes Peter very depressed. Can't you comfort me?" Peter walked to Luigi's room and said to Luigi, who was changing clothes, "I have comforted you enough times during this period. Who told me before that he has grown up and understands a lot of things? And want to be a better person? Only in this way can I have the chance to win back Gwen." Luigi combed his hair in the mirror. Maybe he should comb it a little more to the right. "I have to go out to see a movie with Lan tonight, so I don't have time to accompany you. Take me with you." Luigi stopped working, looked at Peter in disbelief, and then continued working. "You don't want to watch this movie with us? Why?" "Because it's called A Dog's Purpose. P.S. In most states in the United States, people can get married at the age of 18, so Harry and Mary can get married. In addition, the plot about Peter and Gwen is not just a daily filler. I believe everyone can see it. Because of this incident, the 3 brothers have grown up to different degrees." Chapter 467, Mindy's Sorrow. "Man, you're a kid who can only yell. Hanging around in the streets, hoping to be a big shot one day. You're all dirty and miserable. Kick the tin cans everywhere, sing 'We Will Rock You.'" Mindy took a brisk step and sang the immortal classic "We Will Rock You" by Queen. Mindy was as light as a deer. Every step was accompanied by the rhythm of the music. "Man, you're a young man, a tough guy. Shouting in the streets, one day you'll take over the world. You've got blood on your face, no face, waving flags everywhere. Sing 'We Will Rock You.'" Mindy stepped on the drumbeat of the music every time, and her stomping was the best drumbeat. Waving her hands, she jumped and sang all the way from the gate of the night watch base. She looked very, very happy, and even picked up a sausage on the table and pretended it was a microphone. She held the sausage and ran to Luigi, singing and dancing all the way. She pointed the sausage at his mouth, signaling him to sing with her. "Dude, you are old and poor. Your eyes are begging for forgiveness. One day you will be at peace. You are so miserable and embarrassed. It would be great if someone could drive you back home. We want you to rock." It was not the first time that everyone had seen Mindy's liveliness and her crazy when she was happy. Luigi cooperated with Mindy and sang along. "We want you to rock. Everyone sing together. We want you to rock." Mindy waved her little hands, as if she was performing on stage. "Come on." Her loud singing attracted the attention of other people in the night watch base. This blonde little lolly stood at the conference table like a superstar. She was leading the other members of the night watch to sing together. This feeling was great. Mindy was really happy recently, in every sense. Needless to say, the interaction with Laura, the 2 of them were as good as sisters. The other is that in the past month or so, the Beyonder twins and the Justice League have reached a certain cooperative relationship. Although the Night Watch has a complete channel for obtaining intelligence, it is obvious that it will not be shared with Mindy. However, the Justice League has many members and many spies, and Mindy can get a lot of useful information from David. She and David cooperated with each other and relied on the intelligence of the Dispute League to destroy a thief organization. Although it was only a small gang of 5 people, and considering that the Justice League's spies should not be involved, and to maintain the safety of the organization. So Mindy only knocked out a few guys. Although this is not quite the same as the usual practice of the violent little lolly, it is a long-lost feeling after all. The last fight against organized crime can be traced back to more than a year ago, and Mindy felt that she was almost rusty. Now she finally passed the next level of invisibility, so she was very happy today, And for the first time ever, she treated Kick-Ass to a box of chocolate ice cream. You know, only David treated her before. Come on. Let's rock. Mindy finally shouted, and handed the sausage-like microphone to Frank's mouth, looking at Frank with expectant eyes, hoping that he would sing. Speaking of which, she had never heard Frank sing. He and Mike seemed to have no affinity with entertainment. Even Big Daddy sometimes listened to music and watched movies. Frank glanced at Mindy and opened his mouth. Mindy thought he was going to sing, but Frank just opened his mouth and bit off the sausage in one bite, and then began to chew. Oh, please. Mindy was instantly discouraged, and handed the remaining half of the sausage to Frank and pouted helplessly. Then she threw herself hard on the sofa. She had finished her summer homework a long time ago, and now she was ready to turn on the game console and start playing games. At this time, Nightcrawler came over, sat next to Mindy, picked up another game controller, and looked like he was going to play doubles with her. What do you want to play? NBA 2K17 or FIFA? Mindy took out a few game discs from the TV cabinet and asked. Luigi touched his chin. How is Beyond Twins? Mindy's heart suddenly skipped a beat, but she remained calm. This game is not suitable for doubles, and I have already finished it. If you want to play, play alone. Mindy was about to leave. It's not a game, Mindy. You know what I'm talking about. How about Beyond Twins? Luigi stopped Mindy. The other members who had gathered together because of Mindy's singing at the beginning also blocked Mindy's way. I don't know what you are talking about. Get out of the way. I have to do my homework. Mindy wanted to pass by Frank and Big Daddy, but failed. Her collar was grabbed by Frank. Don't lie, Mindy, you finished all your homework 5 days ago. Damon half knelt and talked to Mindy. Mindy looked at the circle of people surrounding her, and the Nightwalker who was sitting on the sofa looking at her and waiting for her answer, and suddenly felt very angry. You said you couldn't spy on me. You didn't keep your promise. I promise, we didn't spy on you. No one did. Luigi spread his hands and said. Mindy glared at Spider-Man who was far away from her. Luigi could only say, don't blame Spider-Man, believe me. The punishment he received is much more serious than you think. I'm not kidding you, he was dumped. Hey! Peter shouted when he heard this, asking Luigi to pay attention. Luigi shrugged, so, you should delete the video stored in the network disk. We will arrest Black Cat together next time. Mindy curled her lips helplessly. I didn't become Hit Girl, nor did I kill people or cut off their limbs. Mindy first stated that she did not break the rules. Because your murderous nature is very strong, it has been cultivated almost since she was a child. For her healthy growth, everyone hopes that she will stay away from some activities in the organization. But she didn't expect that she would still be restless and would come back to the arena again after more than a year of patience. The only good news is that there were no large numbers of injured people with broken limbs or bodies with heads chopped off by samurai swords in New York. I know, Mindy. I contacted David from the Justice League and asked about your situation. Although Frank and Damon were worried that you might cross the line, you were in control. Everyone found a chair and sat down. Mindy was relieved to see that this was not a public trial, but Luigi's next words made her angry again. We are just a little curious, who is the other little girl in your team? Is she your friend? Can we meet her? Chapter 468 How much sin has been committed? Mindy did not respond immediately to Luigi's request to meet Laura. She seemed a little hesitant, frowning and thinking about something. Luigi and others were a little surprised, because this was not an excessive request. Why do you want to see her? Mindy asked cautiously, as if she was afraid that others would separate her from her best friend. Do you want to stop me from meeting her? No, Mindy. We are not that rude. Luigi immediately shook his head. We, including Damon and Frank, have discussed it. We don't object to you making friends, but we want to get to know her. Luigi was telling the truth, because when he and David learned about the extraordinary twins, he specifically asked what the girl who was working with Mindy looked like. The answer he got was that this girl seemed more mature and quieter than Mindy. Most of the things were done by Mindy, and the girl named Laura just followed Mindy and helped her silently. Well, now everyone is not worried that Mindy has made a bad friend. Instead, they are afraid that Mindy will become a bad friend to others and lead a girl down a strange path. Although there is nothing wrong with being a vigilante to help the citizens, everyone knows Mindy's personality. If the criminal really angers her, her knife is extremely sharp. Severed limbs and heads are common to Mindy. They don't want Mindy to scare another girl, even if this girl has some extraordinary strength. But they are still too young after all. Mindy, if you just want to be a vigilante like the Justice League, we don't object. Luigi said this, and Frank and Big Daddy nodded in agreement. The Justice League is called an underground vigilante, but more often it is more like a neighborhood mutual aid association, or a community organized mutual aid association. Crime prevention and voluntary patrols are the main work of this organization, similar to the Moonbird, sending drunk girls home to reduce possible sexual assaults. To put it bluntly, it is a group of volunteer organizations that are more proactive and have a wider scope of jurisdiction. So far, the most spectacular thing this organization has done is to help the police crack a 5-member theft group, and it was Mindy who helped. So as long as it does not exceed a certain range, everyone thinks Mindy can still go out and do activities. She was not allowed to participate in the activities of the Night Watch before because the activities of the Night Watch were too dangerous. The Justice League is not bad. The leader, Kick-Ass David, has a very good relationship with Luigi. He regards Luigi as an idol. If there's any problem with the Beyond Twins, he has promised to notify Luigi as soon as possible. It is always better to block than to loosen. Mindy is a person who can't sit still. It is better to find a suitable place for her to vent her excess energy when she can't help it one day and makes a mistake. However, Mindy obviously doesn't know that this group of adults have held several meetings to discuss her. In the end, Luigi persuaded her, which was also the result of several meetings and discussions. So Mindy couldn't believe it. Really? You don't care about our extraordinary twins and the Justice League? Of course. Luigi nodded. Just be careful. Damon and Frank have agreed. If you really feel that the summer vacation is too boring and want to find something to do, we agree that you can cooperate with the Justice League. But you need a new summer homework, list your things in a task log, and hand it in to Frank, Damon or me every day. The members of the Night Watch are not a group of old stubborn people who are not resigned to the old ways. They don't think they will deliberately smooth out Mindy's edges and corners in her education. After all, there are more than 7 billion mediocre people in this world, but there are only a handful of extraordinary people with extraordinary edges and corners. Don't say that people with smooth edges and corners are suitable for survival in society. That only applies to ordinary people. Either change the world or be changed by the world. The group of people standing here obviously belong to the former. So what do you want to do with Laura? Mindy finally relaxed. She sat on the sofa and said seriously, she is my best friend. I can't let her be at any risk of being hurt. Luigi laughed dumbly. It can't be seen that Mindy is still a very loyal girl. He gave Mindy a thumbs up. You are so loyal. We just want to ensure her safety. After all, you can get our consent, but she may not get her parents' consent. Being a vigilante is a little risky, even if the Justice League is already doing some very safe missions. Mindy curled her lips. Well, if that's the case, I can tell you that Laura has no guardian. She is a refugee. Mindy explained Laura's origins to everyone in detail. She is a mutant from Mexico. She should have come to New York to seek help from the mutant school. But now the mutant school is closed and there is nowhere to go. Mindy temporarily took her in and secretly raised her in her original base. If Laura doesn't take the initiative to ask about other things, Mindy will not take the initiative to ask, so Mindy doesn't know all of them. If you want to see her, it's not impossible. I have to tell her about your affairs first and ask for her consent. I can't force her to do anything. Mindy said seriously. Okay, I'll do as you say. Luigi laughed, and then he touched Mindy's head seriously, messing up her long golden hair. Hey. Mindy pushed Luigi's hand away in annoyance. But Luigi didn't care, and asked Mindy with a smile, there's no ice cream in the refrigerator. What flavor do you like? I'll buy you more next time. Huh? Mindy suddenly couldn't figure out what Luigi was up to, and not only Luigi, but other members of the Night Watch also looked at Mindy with smiles. This made her feel weird. She was not punished for her unauthorized actions? These people must have made a mistake. 4 other members of the Night Watch, especially Frank and Damon, what they want to see is a healthy growth of hip girl Mindy, who has established her own values of good and evil, not a rigid girl who is obedient and abides by the rules like other girls. She looks very well behaved, but that's not Mindy. Mindy's loyalty to Laura and her gradually measured behavior have made everyone see her growth. Self-discipline, self-reliance and self-confidence are not as simple as simply following the rules. If you don't want to meet those guys, I can help you refuse. It's okay, They said they won't embarrass us. In Mindy's old base, Mindy put her arm around Laura's shoulders and told Laura about the internal conversation of the Night Watch. Laura was silent for a while, and she took a look at the comics on the bedside. Those were all sent to her by Mindy, and they were various publications and comics of Marvel. They included various personal independent publications and joint collection publications, such as some publications of the Night Watch Alliance, the Avengers and the X-Men. She pondered for a while, and Mindy thought Laura was not going to meet Lee Ji and the others. But then Laura walked to the bedside, picked up a comic book, flipped through it, and said, "I will meet them with you." "It's okay, Laura, there's no need to force you." Mindy thought Laura was afraid of making things difficult for herself. "It's okay, Mindy, maybe I can ask them for an autograph." Laura raised the comic book in her hand. "Good girl." Mindy smiled. Lee Ji accompanied Frank and Damon to meet Mindy's new friend, who had long chestnut hair and the same eye color as her hair. On her pretty and delicate face were a pair of slightly stubborn eyebrows and a straight nose. This was a very beautiful girl, a girl with a completely different temperament from Mindy's active and lively little girl. Laura looked a little more quiet. Frank and Damon were whispering. "Frank, you said she really has no guardian." "Damon, Mindy should not have lied to us, what's wrong?" "Frank, I just want to say that maybe we can adopt another daughter." Lee Ji didn't hear the whispers of the two old men. He was about to ask Laura a question, but Laura was faster than him. She took out a comic from her pocket, a publication about Nightcrawler and X-Men. She turned to the plot where Lee Ji met X-Men Wolverine and the two fought side by side. She pointed at the characters in the comics. Lee Ji took a look and thought she was referring to Wolverine, not him. "Do you know him?" Laura pointed at Wolverine's head. "Laura, right? If you want his autograph or something, I think I can get it for you." Lee Ji tried to be as easygoing as possible. He thought Laura was a fan of Wolverine. But Laura ignored all that and said to herself, "I want to meet him." "Huh? Why?" Lee Ji knew Laura was a mutant, so he was a little curious. "Because of this." Lee Ji listened to Laura finish her words, and the little girl stretched out a pair of diamond claws. The adamantium alloy shone brightly under the light. Lee Ji's mouth was wide enough to fit an egg. Frank and Damon, who had previously discussed whether to adopt Laura and how to adopt Laura, also stopped discussing. Frank frowned, and Damon squinted his eyes and took a look at Mindy's diamond claws. Lee Ji sighed helplessly, and another pair of diamond claws appeared. "Logan, how much evil have you done in this world?" Chapter 469, King Kong Wolf. "Are you serious?" In a forest villa in the Canadian Rockies, Professor X prepared a cup of coffee for Lee Ji, and the two sat opposite each other and talked about Laura. "Yes, Professor. If I'm not mistaken, the child named Laura should be related to Logan. Although she doesn't want to talk about her origins and things. But the same self-healing ability, and the same adamantium claws." "So?" Lee Ji shrugged, indicating that the rest of the matter need not be said. "Do you think she is also Logan's child, another daughter besides Dakin?" Although the professor already had an idea, it always felt a little incredible. Who knows? Logan's amorousness seems to be no worse than Tony's. At least Tony has never had illegitimate sons and daughters. But now Logan already has two. It's hard to say whether there will be a third one in the future. Lee Ji was also a little helpless. "But I haven't heard Logan talk about these things. Since you created a dream for him last time," he began to slowly recall some of the old things. He vaguely remembers that he seems to have a brother, but he has no memory of his daughter. The professor touched his bald head. "It's strange to say that the Dawn 101 hair growth water has a significant effect on other people's hair growth, but it is useless to the professor. Even if it can grow hair quickly after use, it often withers and falls off completely the next day. For this point, everyone can only say that the professor is born to accept the setting of being bald. Whether he remembers it or not, at least Laura must have something to do with him. Although Laura didn't say it, I can guess that Laura must have something to do with the X-weapon plan that Logan experienced before. After all, no one can be born with a pair of adamantium claws." Lee Ji mentioned Laura's claws. "It is almost certain that it must have been artificially added." Spider-Man examined Laura and found that her bones were still normal inside, but she had an adamantium coating on the surface, which gave her claws similar to Logan's. Lee Ji told them about their general examination of Laura. "But it is certain that Laura did not escape from Stryker's side. The last time my students broke into his base, They destroyed most of the information and also saw a lot of his confidential information. There was no record of Laura in it. The only test subject similar to Wolverine was a test subject named Deathwoman. But it is still in the theoretical stage and the actual experiment has not yet begun. Professor X said with some concern. Whether Laura is Logan's daughter or someone stole Logan's genes to make a test subject. But at least we are sure of one thing, in addition to Stryker, there are people carrying out the X weapon plan. Yes, that's why I reminded you specially, Professor. Laura doesn't want to talk too much with us, and we naturally won't force a little girl to say anything. She wants to see Logan, hoping that Logan can ask more useful information. Li Ji touched his chin and said seriously. The professor smiled. It may be good for Logan. Although he is not married, he has a pair of children. From what you said, Laura seems to be a very good child. Although I shouldn't comment like this, it's at least much better than Deacon. Li Ji drank the rest of the coffee in one breath and stood up. Logan's mood has stabilized recently. I think we should start teaching him some Buddhist practice and martial arts to help him control his anger. Even turn the anger into usable power. After he has mastered the basics, I think I can tell him about Laura, otherwise he will be upset again. The professor looked at Li Ji who was about to leave to find Logan and asked, so Laura is with the Night Watch now? To be precise, she is with Frank and Damon. Li Ji waved his hand, don't worry about Laura. These two people regard this girl as another Mindy, and now she has become their other daughter. At the small lake outside the villa, Logan had already been waiting for Li Ji's arrival. As for Dakin, Li Ji didn't know what kind of illusion he had experienced last time, although he was much quieter after returning from the illusion and didn't feel as impulsive as before. But he still had the impression that he hadn't walked out of the illusion. It can be said that his willpower is much worse than Logan's. Li Ji decided to teach Logan something first, and then let Logan teach Dakin what he learned. It's natural that Li Ji doesn't like Dakin. Because this little guy had shown a knife to him before and wanted to kill him twice. If it wasn't for Logan's face, Li Ji would have dealt with him ruthlessly. When he saw Logan again, Li Ji felt that he had changed greatly from the original Wolverine. In the previous Logan, there was always a flame of anger flashing in his eyes. I don't know where it came from, but it has never been extinguished. Anger and violence, killing and blood, these things have always been with Logan. And now when he saw Logan again, his eyes were more peaceful. Li Ji thought he had hallucinations because he saw the nostalgia for beautiful things in Logan's eyes. Including his friends, including his current life. Now Logan has become more forbearing and strong, but the unyielding flame under this peaceful appearance has never stopped burning. Only after he experienced the illusion given to him by Li Ji, he understood more about what is more important to him. There are some things that he will protect even at the cost of his life. So although he was a little confused about what Li Ji was going to teach him, he still maintained a basic attitude, instead of turning around and leaving as soon as he was unhappy like the old Logan. Wrath of King Kong? What is this? Logan couldn't figure out what Li Ji was going to teach him, but the Chinese transliteration made him feel extremely awkward. It's a Buddhist martial art that I found in Kamartaki. It's very suitable for you. Li Ji said seriously, most Buddhist practitioners have a peaceful mentality, but they occasionally act like a furious Vajra and do things like slaying demons and eliminating evil. I don't think it's likely that you will really transform into a compassionate Buddha. If you really become like that, I don't know if you can still be considered Wolverine. But Vajra Fury is very suitable for you. The anger and violence that you usually hold back will burst out within a controllable range. This set of exercises has a set that is specifically for cultivating your mental sanity. It will be very troublesome if you practice it alone, but we can let Professor X help, and match it with my mind maze and Veracana seal. Let you not lose your sanity even when you are furious, and unleash the true power of this set of exercises. Li Ji said very seriously. Although Logan still didn't quite understand what he heard, it didn't hinder his basic trust in Li Ji and Professor X, so he said, so, how should we start? First of all, the most basic method is to recall the things you hate and dislike the most. If you can't immerse yourself in it, I can help you create illusions like last time, and use these things to stimulate your body and muscles. This is a completely external practice. Ordinary people will have sequelae or something if they practice it, but you don't have to worry about these since you have the ability to heal yourself. If you are ready, tell me and I will start. The professor is watching here through the window upstairs. If there's anything wrong, he will help you get out of the illusion. Logan frowned when he heard that Li Ji was going to create an illusion. He didn't like the feeling of experiencing illusions. But for the first time, he used reason to overcome his instincts and did not refuse Li Ji's request. Then, let's start, Logan said firmly. Li Ji nodded. This time Logan was going to become a real Wolverine. Chapter 470, Wolverine. Vajra Fury is a method that is not difficult to practice. Li Ji searched for a long time in the martial arts handed down by the Buddhist practitioners in Kamartaki before he finally found this method. Compared with those methods that emphasize from the inside out and pay attention to the internal way of regulating the high unity of spirit, energy and spirit, this method is simple and crude. Because this is an external method, from the outside to the inside. It tempers the body through physical hard work and enduring great pain and torture, and at the same time, it trains the spirit by enduring pain and torture. There are many such ascetic methods in Buddhism. Most of the stories about ascetic monks and stories are about practicing similar methods. However, ordinary people have defects in practicing such methods. At the beginning of practice, they only stimulate the body with emotions such as anger or sadness. Make the body reach the limit of the human body within a controllable range. But the higher the level of practice of this method, the more pain it has to endure when practicing it, including fire, flooding, electric shock, etc. It can be said that learning this method itself has a tendency to be masochistic. These pains test the will, and then the will is combined with a special way of practicing to stimulate the body. In this way, a balanced attitude is achieved. Vajra Fury. Those who practice this practice need to go to hell first before they can drag others into hell. First suffer the pain of hell, and then inflict this pain on others. Because they have endured great pain, they have great power when they explode. Quiet like Buddha, kind and benevolent. Moving like thunder, Vajra is furious. This is the true meaning of this practice. There are basically few ordinary people who can achieve great success in practicing this practice. Basically, they can't do it after entering the door and climbing up a little bit. Because the body of ordinary people has its limits, even if they are combined with this special rhythm of practicing in the practice, they will still be injured in that kind of cruel practice. Li Ji felt that this was quite similar to the posture of the seven-injury fist, which hurts oneself first and then hurts others. When the seven-injury fist is fully developed, the person who practices this boxing method will also be injured. Therefore, in the limited records of Kamartaki, there are very few Buddhist practitioners who practice this practice. Besides the master who created the special technique of Vajra Fury, it is difficult for subsequent people to cultivate the special technique to a high level. Because this technique requires too much willpower and innate physical conditions. But when Li Ji found this technique, he felt that it was tailor-made for Logan. Logan has no shortage of willpower, no matter what he experienced in the illusion. Or earlier, when he was forced to do Experiment X at that time, his bones were taken out one by one and replaced with adamantium. This kind of pain is unimaginable for ordinary people. Not to mention the various wars that Logan has experienced in the past 200 years, and all kinds of injuries are commonplace for him. He has even experienced things like atomic bomb explosions. There is really no weapon on Earth that he has not tried. And when it comes to physical talent, it is even more needless to say. What supports Logan's casual death for so many years is his super self-healing ability. His self-healing factor is controlled by his own thinking. As long as Logan's mentality is still young, his self-healing factor will always remain highly active. In simple terms, as long as Logan doesn't want to die, he won't die. If he is killed one day and doesn't resurrect, there is only one reason, that is, he is tired and wants to leave this world. But at least Logan doesn't want to die now, especially after what he has experienced in the illusion. He knows better that he must live well and become stronger and stronger. He doesn't want the illusion to come true, and he still has a son now. Well, he doesn't know that he has a daughter yet. Otherwise, maybe the desire to survive will be stronger. Li Ji nodded to Logan, and Logan also said that he was ready. The combination of the 1,000-year-old building blocks and the Ksitagarbha Bodhisattva statue once again showed its power. Logan let go of his guard and fell into the painful world compiled by his mind. All the things he was afraid of were repeated again. His blue veins bulged on his face, and the muscles of his whole body trembled as if he was electrocuted. His eyes were as red as bloodshot, and the diamond claws were stretched out, looking like he wanted to see someone. Li Ji made a gesture to the professor's position on the second floor. The professor knew that Li Ji needed his cooperation. So he directly controlled Logan's body. Although he was close to the edge of frenzy, he was still unable to move. However, Professor Charles was a little surprised at the extent of Logan's anger. His anger almost took control of his body again when the professor was not paying attention, and escaped from the professor's control. Calm down, Logan. Try to control your anger. They are your weapons. Only people can control weapons, not weapons can control people. Li-Ji came to Logan's side. If it weren't for Professor Charles controlling Wolverine's body, Li-Ji would never want to get close to the furious Wolverine. Because countless facts have proved that if you get close to Wolverine in a violent state, you will only be torn to pieces by him. Li-Ji slapped Logan's forehead with one palm, and the power of the great Synthathagata seal was released like soft water, washing Logan's soul. Li-Ji used this set of skills to deal with beasts and help Spider-Man, who was possessed by beasts. Although it seems that Li-Ji has been busy with worldly things, in fact, his own practice has not stopped all day. Now he is more and more adept at controlling his own power, and he has begun to master the essence of the great Synthathagata seal. Under the power of the great Synthathagata seal, Logan suddenly felt that his soul seemed to be artificially split into two halves. One half was the furious Wolverine who was still in a rage and wanted to tear everything in front of him into pieces. The other half was the wise Wolverine who could rationally look at his own state from a third party. In Li-Ji's mind maze, Logan was fighting with Magneto. In the previous illusion, Magneto's slaughter of Logan's comrades was still vivid in his mind. He returned to the Twilight Wolf. After settling his grandson and granddaughter, he was determined to take revenge. But Magneto's power just restrained him. Even Magneto didn't need to make a move. Just pointing a finger at Logan could make him unable to move. The claws of the adamantium alloy began to deform slightly under Magneto's control, and even began to tear his hand bones and muscle skin. Magneto waved his hand lightly, and under the effect of magnetism, Logan was pressed to the ground and unable to move. The furious Wolverine was like a trapped beast. Although he wanted to fight to the death, he was locked in a cage. Any shouting and roaring seemed as powerless as a dying struggle. The forcibly split Wolverine could watch the battle between himself and Magneto from a third-party perspective. It was as if the guy who was pressed to the ground and breathing the smell of soil was not himself. He could observe the slight trembling of each of his muscles, the speed and direction of blood flow, the creaking sound in his own diamond bones. Magneto had an overwhelming advantage over him, and perhaps it was this overwhelming advantage that made Magneto careless. The Wolverine noticed that Magneto approached him and looked at him with a condescending look. And he could keenly perceive that the pressure on his left hand was less than that on other places. Unlike in the past when he was furious, the furious Wolverine only knew to wave his claws forward. Now Wolverine was calmer. He tried to concentrate all his strength on his left hand, trying to move his left hand to give Magneto a little surprise. Push. Push. Wolverine had to fight against Magneto's pressure while fighting for control of his body with the furious Wolverine. This made him feel extremely tired. But it was not without effect. With his unremitting efforts, his left hand was finally able to move forward a little, and his claws could already touch Magneto's legs. Go. Before Wolverine said the word die, Magneto had already noticed his unusualness. Magneto stretched out his hand and gently pushed him more than 30 meters away and hid a big rock. The violent impact instantly made Logan unconscious. When he woke up, he found that he was sweating all over, as if he had fallen into the lake. The Night Walker in front of him also had trembling hands, and was panting and looked very tired. Logan knew that he had left the illusion, and he didn't know what the result of the training was. Logan wanted to raise his left hand, but found that his left hand had lost consciousness, just like he had lost strength after exerting too much force. This puzzled Logan. Compared with Logan's puzzlement, Li-Ji and Charles were the most surprised. Especially Li-Ji. He did not expect that Logan could achieve soul separation and control anger with reason in his first training. According to the records, the person who made the fastest progress in practicing this technique took more than 3 months to achieve this. Although Logan has external forces such as himself and Charles, it has to be said that he is compatible with this technique. Li-Ji is now more and more curious about what Logan has experienced in his illusion. Compared with Li-Ji, Charles was equally surprised, because in the last moment, Logan's left hand actually broke away from his control and moved forward. Although the amplitude was small, it was the first time Charles encountered such a situation. You know, Even his old friend Magneto had to wear a helmet that released brainwaves before he dared to stand in front of Charles. Even this old strong man could not resist Charles' brainwave control. Logan's slight breakaway just now can be said to be the first time Charles encountered it. Now he and Lee Ji are a little bit looking forward to what level Wolverine will reach if he can completely break away from Charles' control. Chapter 471. Do you mind having more daughters? Logan's speed of practicing Vajra Rage far exceeded Lee Ji's expectations. This technique seemed to be tailor-made for Logan. Lee Ji and the professor acted as external forces to ensure Logan's willpower, so that he would not really have a mental breakdown. As for the physical training, it was completely dependent on Logan's unreasonable self-healing ability. Then Lee Ji used the energy of his Veracana seal to penetrate into Logan's body and use his own energy to cleanse Logan's body and soul. After all, it would take too much time for Logan to figure out the root of the practice and various meridian internal key. After all, Logan had never been influenced by similar cultural influences, and even though Lee Ji had been influenced by similar martial arts culture, it took him nearly a year to learn this knowledge. The earliest training and learning was with Iron Fist, and then he took various books from Kamartaki. Now that Lan has moved in, although she is not a martial arts major, she has a lot of relevant knowledge. Because the mages in Kamartaki are not the fragile high-attack mages that Lee Ji knows through various games. They are a group of melee mages similar to Gandalf. Lee Ji still remembers that when he went to Kamartaki, he saw Wang wielding two giant swords with great vigor. Rather than saying that he looks like a mage, it is better to say that he is more like a berserker with mage skills. In the Marvel world, a mage cannot be considered a good mage if he does not add points to strength, crit, and defense. What? Exclamation mark. You said you can't dismantle Tony's iron armor with your bare hands? You can't even do this and you still have the nerve to call yourself a mage. A mage who can't beat a berserker is not qualified to be a good wise man. So although Lan looks very weak and rarely plays melee, he is actually a very powerful master. What a mage has to learn is far more than Lee Ji imagined. So Lee Ji has learned a lot from Lan recently. So now he is no longer a rookie who knew nothing about the meridians and the direction of the human body and relied solely on the system to give him abilities. Since Logan was able to separate his soul into Rage and Sage in the first training, he found that if he used the Sage state, he could observe any small movement in his body. This was twice the result with half the effort for Logan's practice. He could completely remember the trajectory of Lee Ji's practice in his body. Although he didn't quite understand what that energy was, it didn't prevent him from memorizing these things by rote and body memory. In repeated training, on the fourth day, Logan actually had a slight sense of ki. Originally, other people did not practice this method so quickly, because in the first year of practicing the method, even if they could cultivate a slight breath energy, it would be used to repair physical and mental damage. Using this energy to constantly repair the damaged body, the body becomes stronger and stronger. Logan can skip this step directly, because of the self-healing factor, the ki energy he cultivated does not need to repair his body 5 times, but can be gathered directly. Of course, this energy is still very weak now, and at most it will dissipate after running a circle in the body according to the practice route taught by Lee Ji. The dissipated energy is not gone, but it strengthens the body in a more efficient way. The effect of passively strengthening the body in the first few years of practicing the skill is much better for ordinary people. After all, this is an external skill, and the highest level is to make the body holy. Looking at the entire Marvel universe, Lee Ji feels that no one is more suitable for this skill than Logan. If you have to find someone who can be compared with him, it can only be Hulk, who also uses anger as power. However, Hulk is too unstable. Unless he can become the kind of person that Lee Ji watched in cartoons when he was a child, even if he transforms into Hulk, he can still maintain a rational state. Otherwise, Hulk will always be an extremely terrifying and dangerous person. Now Logan has been training for more than a week. Professor Charles found that it is becoming more and more difficult to forcibly fix Logan's body, and he needs to consume more and more energy. At the beginning, Professor Charles could easily trap Logan without spending much energy. But now Charles must at least enter a serious state to trap Logan, otherwise he will be freed. This proves that Logan's willpower is getting stronger and stronger, and his control over his body is getting higher and higher. If one day Logan can practice his skills to perfection, and the professor can't trap him even if he uses all his strength, at that time, Wolverine will be a real existence that kills people and Buddhas. But even in the current situation, Logan is much stronger than before. Just like his current sparring with Cyclops. Cyclops Scott began to suppress Logan with long-range firepower at a distance of 300 meters. Scott has a pair of eyes that can release powerful laser beams. The laser energy released by his eyes is not less than the energy blaster released by Tony's iron armor. And compared with weapons that need mechanical control, Scott's ability is more flexible. The special glasses made by Professor Hank for him can not only control him from releasing beams when he is free. More importantly, it helps Scott to capture the enemy. Generally speaking, with Logan's previous ability, the distance of 300 meters is simply impossible to impact Scott. He will be suppressed by this pair of Cyclops and can't raise his head. Now, Logan seemed to be a different person. He had a furious expression on his face, but he didn't just rush forward like he used to when he was angry, relying on a reckless approach to win. Instead, he began to be more intelligent, whether it was deceiving Scott to attack the wrong place, or using anticipation to avoid Scott's firepower. Logan's body coordination became stronger and stronger, and the occasional laser beams that hit him were blocked by his adamantium claws. It was not until he pounced and stretched his claws in front of Scott that this actual combat training ended. You seem to be getting faster and faster, and your strength has also increased, Scott said after slapping Logan's claws away. It was just training, and he didn't use his full strength. For example, he was just standing still to output, without any tactical actions. And he didn't turn on the high-power laser. But it was difficult for Logan to break through to a long-range suppression opponent at a distance of 300 meters. Unless he relied on a life-and-death strategy. But this time, Logan had no injuries at all, and Scott believed that it was not his feeling that was wrong, but that Logan's speed had really become faster and his reaction had become better. If Logan's previous way of adding points had always been the way of a Fury warrior, now he began to add some points to the assassin attribute. Logan smiled and said, "Maybe your laser ability has degraded." Since Logan came back from the illusion, his personality has improved a lot. At least he is not the kind of temper that would explode at the slightest thing. Scott has actually always been a relatively tolerant and generous person. Otherwise, when Logan wanted to pursue his girlfriend before, he would have turned against him long ago. It would be impossible for him to become a teammate with Logan. Now that Logan's temper has improved, the relationship between the two is not as tense as before. While the two were chatting, Li Ji was teleported over by Flash. "Logan, it seems that you have already started your kung fu." Li Ji had watched the actual combat training of the two from a distance. "It's okay. It's a very strange feeling. Although I am furious, I can control myself with reason." Logan thought this feeling was very strange. That's a good thing. Anger is a weapon. You should control it, not let it control you. Li Ji patted Logan's shoulder. "By the way, can we chat sometime?" Scott saw that Li Ji had something private to discuss with Logan, so he and Shank said goodbye to the two of them. "What's the matter?" Logan asked. "How is Dakin these days?" Li Ji suddenly talked about Logan's son. "Much better than before. He used to have a weird temper. Although he is still relatively silent now, he doesn't seem to be that impulsive and violent," Logan said. Li Ji clapped his hands. "That's a good thing. It may be because the illusion made him grow up. You have to know that people always have to grow up and learn to take responsibility before they can become better. Just like after you had Dakin, I feel that you have obviously become more responsible." Li Ji's words made Logan wave his hands a little embarrassed. Li Ji went on to say, "Actually, I think Dakin could use a little more responsibility. In other aspects." "Are you talking about finding him a girlfriend?" "I guess that's not possible right now. He's still feeling guilty about Katie's affairs." Logan gently stroked the steel-like beard on his chin. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Just kidding. Katie is now the president of a country, and it would be extremely difficult for Dakin to pursue her now. I'm talking about what would happen if Dakin had a junior. For example, a younger sister or something. What do you think?" Li Ji said seriously. "Have you ever considered raising an extra daughter, Logan?" "Huh?" Chapter 472 Wolf Cub, and Wolf Girl. "Huh?" Logan didn't react to what Li Ji said. Li Ji felt that he was actually very embarrassed. Wolverine was originally a good golden bachelor. He could drink, pick up girls, kill people and dance freely, but he helped him find a son last time he went to Japan. Well, the son was not found for a few days, And now there is a child who is suspected to be his daughter. A golden bachelor inexplicably became a single father, a son with a problem teenager, and a daughter with the tendency of a problem teenager. Although Lee Ji felt very embarrassed, he still told Logan everything about Laura. I'm sure I haven't had sex with any Mexican woman. Logan scratched his head, making his already messy hair look even messier. Really? Lee Ji glanced at Logan. Really? Logan himself was not sure if what he said was true. In the past few years, when he was wandering around, he had one-night stands with other women. But they were all for what they needed, so it was not a matter of who took advantage and who suffered. But it was still hard for him to accept the fact that he had another daughter out of nowhere. Especially since Nightwalker said that this daughter seemed to have some relationship with the Weapon X project. This could be seen from her modified adamantium claws. She had the same fate as Logan. Whether it's true or not, Logan. This girl wants to see you. Lee Ji looked at Logan and said seriously, I don't think you would refuse such a trivial request from a cute little girl. Okay, but... Logan was interrupted by Lee Ji before he finished speaking. Okay, then it's settled. I'll bring her here next time. By the way, in order to make the atmosphere less serious, I think you'd better prepare some sweets and toys that she likes. After all, this is a long-lost reunion between father and daughter, so it's better to make the scene a little warmer. Lee Ji said while counting on his fingers. She's been living with us lately, so I know what she likes. Prepare some vanilla and strawberry flavored ice cream, and she likes to eat chocolatey chocolate chip cookies. Also prepare some M&M chocolate and peanuts. Logan was stunned, and Lee Ji continued, she also likes unicorn and My Little Pony patterns and toys. You can decorate the meeting room with some such patterns to make it look more cozy. Wait, the sweets and snacks mentioned above are fine, but what the hell are unicorns and My Little Pony? Logan felt that his brain was not enough. Did he have to run to town dozens of kilometers away to buy some tablecloths and posters with My Little Pony patterns printed on them? Please, at my age, it's too embarrassing to do such a thing. Why do you know so much about her preferences? Logan had a headache. Dakin was already a headache, and with a daughter who was about to reach puberty, he felt that his future life would be bleak. No way, there are two super daughter-obsessed people in the Night Watch. Frank and Damon have taken care of Laura as their own daughter. She enjoys the same treatment as Mindy, so you don't have to worry. These are all discovered by the two of them. Lee Ji patted Logan on the shoulder before leaving. Oh, by the way, I forgot to congratulate you. In addition to a son, you have another daughter. Now you have both sons and daughters, a winner in life. After saying that, Lee Ji left quickly. He went to find Shan Ying and asked her to take him back to the United States. Only Logan was left alone in the wind. He felt that the Vajra Fury that had just achieved certain results seemed to have a flaw. It was not until Lee Ji walked away that Logan realized that he had not asked a question. That is, why are all my children found by you? Of course, Lee Ji would not give him the opportunity to ask this question now. Lee Ji had basically told Logan the truth before. Now Laura was temporarily arranged to live with Mindy at the Night Watch. Because everyone was worried about an underage girl living alone in Damon's old base. Although this girl is very different from other girls, it doesn't stop everyone from treating her as a little girl. Just like Mindy, Laura has become another mascot in the Night Watch. Naturally, she is treated like a mascot. Basically, food and toys are given priority to her and Mindy. Since Laura's affairs have been discussed, Mindy is just hanging out with Laura. Including various equipment in the base, as well as various equipment developed. Of course, there are also various comics of Mindy and games she prepared. Lee Ji spent more than $2,000 to buy a new projector for the base, which can be used to play materials during meetings. It can also be used to play movies and play games. Now Mindy takes Laura to play games with this projector when she has nothing to do. Occasionally, she interacts with Kick-Ass of the Justice League and does some work as a New York vigilante. Don't live too comfortably. Laura is a relatively silent but extremely sensible child. Unlike Mindy, who is lively and active and crazy, she is always on high alert and lacks a sense of security. Only when she is with Mindy can she relax. When Lee Ji found Laura and said to her, "Hi, Laura. I have already told Logan that you can meet him after he prepares. Maybe you can have another brother." Laura just shook her head slightly at Lee Ji's joke, looked at him and did not answer. She turned and walked into her room, and took out a school bag from under the bed that she never let anyone touch. "Are you going to meet him now?" Laura's voice was very soft. No, I asked him to prepare so that he would not be too rude when he meets you. Luigi bent down and touched Laura's soft chestnut hair. I said, Logan, is it necessary to change all the decorations in the restaurant to My Little Pony? This is too weird. We are X-Men. Storm and Jean Grey, who helped Logan with the decorations, were a little helpless. Especially Storm was mumbling, even the tablecloths and napkins are from My Little Pony. Isn't that too much? When I went to town to buy so many My Little Pony decorations, even the shop owner was a little surprised. Storm, stop complaining. Jean Grey glanced at her and then at Logan, who was a little depressed and speechless. She was amused by Logan's depressed expression. At least you can't expect Wolverine to buy these. Jean Grey found an empty glass bowl and poured M&M chocolate beans into it. On another plate were fun chocolate cookies, which were stacked in the shape of a small tower and looked very delicate. Of course, there were some potato chips and ice cream in the refrigerator in the kitchen. This was the first time that so many snacks were bought in the villa since coming to Canada. Logan said uncomfortably, "Thank you anyway." "You're welcome." The two women answered at the same time. Kin smiled, "At least she's your daughter. I never thought you were the winner with both a son and a daughter." "Logan, the professor is calling you over." Scott came to the restaurant and called, "He has prepared a new shirt and pants and a pair of leather shoes for you." "What?" Logan's eyebrows were about to wrinkle together. "You can't wear this tank top and old jeans that are about to fade to meet her. She's a girl, not like a boy. You have to pay attention to your image." Whether Logan was willing or not, Scott dragged him to the professor to change into a new set of clothes. So in the newly decorated restaurant, Logan wore a brand new shirt and trousers and waited for the girl named Laura to arrive. And next to him was Dakin, who also changed into a new set of clothes and showed curiosity on his face. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. Luigi arrived as promised with a girl with chestnut shawl hair and a delicate face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473 Meeting. Luigi brought Laura as promised, but in addition to Laura, Mindy also came with her. Because Laura lacks a sense of security, even when she is with other members of the Night Watch, she can't feel at ease and is always in a state of high alert. Only when she is with Mindy can she feel more stable, so in order to ensure her peace of mind, Mindy must come with her. Another point comes from Mindy. According to her words, "I don't know if the guy who stretches out his paws to play for no reason and has a full beard is a good person. What if Mindy is bullied by him?" Well, since Mindy said so, Luigi has no reason to refuse her to accompany Laura to see Logan. At the gate of the Forest Villa, Charles and Jean were chatting. When Charles saw Luigi coming with Laura, he smiled and said to Laura, "Welcome, I guess you are Laura, right? Come in quickly, Logan is waiting for you in the restaurant." The professor always has a kind face, especially for young mutants. He always plays the role of a good teacher and a good elder. Luigi greeted Charles and Jean and took the two girls to the restaurant. Now the whole restaurant has been decorated in the style of Rainbow Pony by Storm and Jean Grey, including posters, tablecloths, napkins and so on. Tenderloin looked at Logan with some surprise, because he was wearing a formal shirt and trousers and his hair looked well-groomed, and it seemed that he had sprayed hairspray to make all his hair combed back. He looked like a product manager. You know, Logan in Luigi's image would not dress like this. Charles walked through the restaurant and winked at Luigi, saying, "Not bad, I recommended Logan." Luigi shook his head helplessly and patted Laura on the shoulder. "Laura, he is Logan, Wolverine." The little girl stared at Logan with a puzzled look for a while, and then said in a distrustful tone, "You are lying to me." "Wait, what? What did I lie to you about?" Luigi was confused by Laura's look as if she was looking at a big liar. Laura took out a comic book in her pocket, pointed to Logan on the cover and said, "This is Wolverine." The Logan on the cover had messy hair and a messy beard, which was different from the current product manager. Laura pointed to the clean version of Logan and said, "He is not Wolverine." Huh? Luigi was a little helpless. He glanced at Mindy and expected Mindy to say something. But Mindy pretended not to see it. Luigi could only walk to Logan helplessly and say, "I'm sorry." "What?" Before Logan could react, Luigi rubbed Logan's head with his hands, completely messing up the hairstyle that had taken a whole morning to do. Then he tore off a few buttons of Logan's shirt. This instantly turned Logan from a successful person into a sloppy middle-aged man. Hey, what are you doing? Logan spent so much time taking care of his appearance just to give Laura a good impression, but Lee Ji ruined it all. Lee Ji shrugged helplessly and ignored Logan's protest. He said to Laura, "Look, he is Wolverine." Laura carefully compared Logan's current appearance with the comics, and then whispered to Mindy for a while. Finally, the little girl nodded. "Okay, he is Wolverine." Lee Ji patted Logan on the shoulder and whispered in his ear, "I hope you don't blame me for messing up your hairstyle." Logan took a deep breath and thanked Lee Ji for starting to teach him the King Kong Fury technique. Logan would have been angry before. When the two girls sat at the edge of the dining table, Logan motioned to Dakin to go to the refrigerator and take out the ice cream. Nightwalker said, "You like to eat these? I don't really understand what girls like, but I still hope you like it." Logan spoke a little stiffly. He handed the vanilla and strawberry mixed flavor ice cream to the two girls. "Thank you." Mindy took it very readily and thanked her. Laura looked at Logan and Dakin, then took it and said softly, "Thank you. Laura, let me introduce you, this is Dakin." Logan thought about it and didn't know how to word it, so he could only say vaguely, "He is the same as you." "Oh." Laura ate a spoonful of ice cream and simply said, "Oh. Mindy, how about we go out to eat?" Lee Ji saw the awkward atmosphere at the scene, and he pulled Mindy. Mindy looked at Lee Ji and pouted, but still nodded. Before she left, she whispered to Laura, "If you need anything, you can call me." Lee Ji took Mindy out of the restaurant. Logan looked relieved without outsiders. He asked, "Laura, where's your mother?" "Dead," Laura said without raising her head. Logan couldn't hear more tone and emotion from this child. "Well, what did you do in Mexico before you came to New York?" Logan was a little embarrassed. Dakin was very curious about this girl who might be his sister. "They trained me as a weapon. Killing people or something like that." Laura talked about her own things without much emotion, as if it was not worth mentioning. Logan frowned. Why did his children have such experiences? Could it be that he really killed too much and the retribution came to his descendants? Now Logan began to believe in karma. "Everything you want to know is here," Laura said as she opened the backpack she brought. That was something she had never let others touch before. It contained a thick dozen documents, including all of Laura's experimental data. The objectives of the missions she had carried out. Logan noticed that Laura's code name in the experimental data was X-23. "What does X-23 mean?" Logan asked. "I'm the 23rd test subject. All the previous ones failed." Laura's tone was cold, and she stopped eating ice cream. Logan realized that he seemed to have asked the wrong question. "Sorry, if you don't want to say it, you don't have to." "Nothing, I can tell you that there are X-24 to X-50 after me." Laura's tone became worse and worse. "But you don't need to worry about the others." "Why?" "Because they were all killed by me." Laura's words made the atmosphere on the scene very cold, and the rainbow pony pattern did not bring a trace of warmth. P.S. Only X-23 has Logan's genes, the other X-test subjects are not. Chapter 474. Very family. Laura didn't care much about how many people she killed. Laura and Mindy are similar in this regard. Although they are both girls, their hands are stained with blood. The only difference is that Mindy is relatively voluntary. She doesn't think there's anything wrong with killing a group of scum. Laura is indeed relatively forced. She doesn't like the various tasks she performs, including killing various people. Because she can't guarantee that everyone she kills is innocent. It is very likely that the people she killed have their own families and lives, and their peaceful lives were torn apart by Laura's steel claws. So Laura herself doesn't want to kill if she can. Of course, if anyone thinks that she is a soft-hearted little girl because of this, then they will have to pay a huge price. Logan browsed the various materials brought by Laura, and he clearly saw that Laura used his genes to make a clone. A more accurate definition is that Logan's DNA was used and then a woman was found to be responsible for surrogacy. In simple terms, Laura was conceived by ectopic pregnancy. Although Logan couldn't have seen Laura's mother, the woman responsible for the ectopic pregnancy, according to Laura, the poor woman had passed away. Although it seems that Laura has little to do with him, Logan can feel another kind of blood connection. In Logan's memory, he only remembers participating in the X-weapon experiment and extracting genes once, that is, the time when he was implanted with adamantium. After Logan came out of the illusion, he has recovered some memories, although they are still a little vague. Some things are too long ago and can't be remembered clearly. The X-Weapon plan was led by Stryker, and he and other X-Men destroyed it last time. Logan kept flipping through the information and finally found a line at the end of the file that marked the source. Mexican AIM Genetic Engineering Department. Logan frowned and decided to discuss what this so-called AIM is with Nightcrawler and Professor X later. He thought it would be better to discuss the issue of Laura's whereabouts first, because no matter what, this girl is related to him. And since he already has a son, as Nightcrawler said, he doesn't mind raising another daughter. Moreover, Laura ran away secretly, and AIM must be hunting her down. It was just good luck that she was not caught now, but there was no guarantee that she would always have such good luck. So someone needed to protect Laura. Laura, I don't know how to say this. Logan sorted out his thoughts. In a sense, I am your father. Logan felt unusually awkward when he said this. Perhaps he had never said such words to anyone in such an affectionate way. Even to Dakin, he kept his feelings in his heart instead of speaking them out. So, if you want, you can live with me. Logan pointed to Dakin standing beside him and said, this is your brother, you can call him brother, or you can just call him by his name Dakin if you don't like him. The same goes for me, you can just call me by my name Logan. Logan smiled and tried to make himself look more kind. Dakin saw that Laura had finished her ice cream, and helped her get a new one, not knowing that girls should not eat too many cold things at one time. Laura said thank you, then lowered her head and silently started to eat the second box of ice cream. Let me be honest, Laura. I may not be a good father. I have never done such things, such as caring for others. Logan glanced at Laura, and then at Dakin. He said with a little guilt, most of the time in my life, I hurt people instead of helping them. I have killed many more lives than I have saved. In fact, this is Logan's confession, but it is also the curse of Wolverine's bloodline. From Logan to Dakin to Laura, everyone's life is full of twists and turns. This world has changed many things because of Li Ji's intervention, including the bloody curse of this family. If Li Ji hadn't intervened and brought Logan's children back to his side, Logan could hardly imagine what these two children would become in the future. Maybe Dakin would become a mentally ill lunatic under heavy pressure. Although he is a little crazy now, at least he can be corrected. And Laura? Logan didn't even dare to think about what a girl like her would experience in the future. The three members of the Wolverine family sat opposite each other in silence, only Laura was eating the ice cream slowly. Dakin looked at this girl who looked like his sister quietly, and he suddenly felt another kind of blood connection. This is very strange. Sometimes, when you meet someone, you will know that some people are your friends, some are your enemies, and some are your relatives. There is no doubt that Laura is this kind of person. Even the feeling Laura brought to Dakin was better than the feeling Logan brought to him. Dakin smiled for the first time since he left Japan with Logan. And the reason for his smile was very simple. He pointed to the corner of Laura's mouth. You have something here. Laura just ate ice cream and got it stuck to the corner of her mouth, which made her mouth look like a circle of white beard. After seeing this, Logan picked up a napkin from his hand. Don't move. He gently pressed Laura's little head and wiped all the traces of ice cream left on her mouth with a napkin. The action was very gentle, just like wiping a baby's body, as if he was afraid that a little force would hurt Laura. Laura felt Logan's kindness, so she didn't struggle. She just quietly let Logan help her clean the stains on the corners of her mouth. Want some? After Logan helped her clean the corners of her mouth, Laura scooped a spoonful of ice cream and handed it to Logan. Logan wanted to refuse, because he didn't like angels who eat ice cream very much, just like he didn't like cakes and chocolates. But when he saw Laura's slightly expectant eyes, he still said, thank you. He ate the ice cream that Laura handed over in one bite. Wait a minute, I know a great way to eat ice cream. Logan suddenly said. He had seen Icemen use a good way to eat it at school before. Logan took a few chocolate cookies from the table, broke them into pieces and threw them into the ice cream. He smiled and said, try it, I've seen them eat it this way before. It seems very good. Laura took a scoop, and the smooth texture of the ice cream and the crispness of the cookies blended into one in her mouth. It was so delicious that she squinted her eyes. Dakin. Laura passed the ice cream to Dakin and scooped a spoonful with his spoon to taste it. After Dakin finished scooping, he passed it to Logan. Logan. She was not used to calling someone dad. Logan also scooped a spoonful. Finally, Laura scooped a large spoonful herself. What is a family? It means to share the difficulties together and share the sweetness together. Although Wolverine's family is incomplete, at least it lacks a hostess, but now Logan finds that there is an inexplicable bond between him and his two children. Something that cannot be separated and unforgettable. Just like now, the three of them share a bowl of ice cream. Logan felt tenderness for the first time, Dakin smiled for the first time, and Mindy found some kind of support for the first time. Although this family is a little incomplete, Logan now feels that there is something in the world that he needs to protect with his whole life, even if there is no reward. And any person or organization who wants to take all this away from him will have to bear the rage of Wolverine. For example, AIM. P.S. Regarding the last chapter where Lee Ji turned into Tenderloin, it actually fits his identity as a chef. Wrong, actually it was just a typo. Typing on a mobile phone would be more prone to errors and not easy to check. This chapter was checked twice. Wolverine doesn't like sweets, but Hugh Jackman is a sweets fanatic. In addition, this paragraph will not be charged if it is less than 200 words, so don't worry about the word count. Chapter 475 The Power to Silence the World. After Logan and Laura recognized each other, Laura officially joined this extraordinary family and became Logan's daughter and Dakin's sister. Although Laura's personality made it impossible for her to say anything to the two, this kind of emotion can be felt. The people of the Wolverine family express their emotions in a more subtle way and will not express all their emotions directly. But this cannot hinder the emotional involvement between the family. Laura will temporarily live in the villa in Canada, and Mindy has also received an invitation to live with Laura in Canada for a while and play together. For Laura, Mindy is another irreplaceable friend of hers. Since there is already an extra girl in the villa, the X-Men don't mind having another little girl. After all, they were all teachers before and have considerable experience in taking care of children. Moreover, Mindy's lively and active personality and very good at dealing with things quickly won the favor of other mutant war police. Naturally, everyone will have no objection to this. And Logan shared all the information he saw from the folder carried by Laura, including news about AIM, with Lee Ji and Professor X. AIM Genetic Engineering Department. The professor said he didn't know much about this organization. Lee Ji shook his head and said, since there is a formal company name, it seems that this is a formal company, and it is very likely that they are illegal on the surface. But researching the X-weapon program is not a legal act. Logan said dryly, I thought there would be no X-weapon program after Stryker died. I heard that the US Congress has closed the funding for the X-weapon program. Lee Ji nodded and told the news he got from the captain, yes, Congress dislikes the X-weapon program. It consumes hundreds of millions of dollars of funds every year, but there is no return, and there have been no particularly good results in decades. The masters on Capitol Hill don't want to invest in them anymore, which is understandable. Lee Ji went on to say, after all, the X-weapon program was initially led by Hydra, and the US military just accepted a group of surrendered elements. It's hard to say where the other members of Hydra are hiding. Lee Ji shrugged, maybe AIM is the remnant of Hydra. In fact, AIM is the remnant of Hydra. Lee Ji still vaguely remembers that there is this one among the branches of Hydra. Lee Ji is not sure whether the extremis virus is still related to this company, as in the original plot. In this universe, Lee Ji never dares to be a prophet, because there are too many things that seem to be true but are not. It is best to make 3 confirmations before making any judgments. But we don't know the nature of AIM. If this is a regular company, we can't just rush into their headquarters and interrogate them for various information. The professor frowned and said, the Brotherhood of Mutants. Lee Ji suddenly said a word. What? Logan didn't understand why Lee Ji suddenly said this. Lee Ji ignored him and just glanced at the professor. Are you talking about Magneto? The professor suddenly understood what Lee Ji wanted to say. Yes, isn't he looking for his children? Lee Ji glanced at Logan. Now Logan has both sons and daughters, but poor old one lost his wife and lost his children for decades. The resentment accumulated in his heart can be imagined. If his children are mutants, and were taken away because of those things, what do you think is the possibility that they were taken to AIM, especially if AIM is related to Hydra? Since they can also study the X-weapon plan, if Magneto's children are a pair of powerful mutants, then they are very researchable. Lee Ji's words made the professor nod, but we still can't be sure that AIM is definitely related to the whereabouts of Magneto's children. Who cares? Li Ji said nonchalantly, there is a saying in China that goes, if there is a date, there is no date, then hit it 3 times. Hit it first and talk about it later. What's more, it's not us who are going to hit the date, and we don't even need to use the stick to hit the date. The professor looked at Li Ji with a helpless look. His ability to shift the blame and blame others is getting better and better. Then let's do as you say. Charles agreed with Li Ji's method. Li Ji waved his hand, then I'll leave Mindy in your care for the time being. Her father has also agreed that she can stay here for a while. Li Ji wanted to leave here as he was talking. He had other things to do. For example, helping Iron Man test his new real-life VR game. Inside the Stark Industries building. You're late. Tony Stark had been waiting for Li Ji in his laboratory for quite a while. Sorry, some things took a little longer. Li Ji waved his hand. How much do you know about AIM, Tony? Li Ji told him everything about Logan and Laura, and also mentioned the extremis virus in a vague way. AIM, this is a very industry-oriented company. It doesn't have too many actual industries itself, and they provide more technical support to other companies and countries. This is a research-oriented enterprise. If you are not in the circle, few people will have heard of them. Tony briefly talked about what he knew about AIM, and while talking, he asked Li Ji to sit in a special hemispherical cabin. If what you said is true, then if AIM is related to Hydra, with AIM's scientific research capabilities, they would probably be able to develop various mutant weapons faster. But that girl named Laura actually killed all the other test subjects in one go? It's amazing. Tony whistled. Laura is Logan's daughter, don't show this attitude in front of Logan. Li Ji reminded Tony. Tony immediately said, no, I don't have human moral prejudice against clones. Because they also have souls, not tools, especially when the other party is still a little girl. Tony has begun to adjust the parameters of the entire hemispherical cabin to confirm that the connection is working properly. Don't you think there are too many messy villains on Earth? This is a bit like the guy in the comics who will be resurrected no matter how hard he is beaten. Tony helped Li Ji sit in the cabin. This is a fully immersive vehicle. It uses various new technologies that Tony has researched, including a new brainwave sensor control method developed with inspiration from Professor Charles' brainwave sensing. After Li Ji put on all the necessary things, he started the machine as Tony requested. Before he started the immersive training, he smiled at Tony and said, so we need a super fleet that spans the ages, with the power to make the final decision when needed, and to shut up the whole world when necessary. P.S. I was not in a good state yesterday, so there were many typos. I solemnly apologize to all the bug friends here. In addition, regarding ectopic pregnancy, I may not have expressed it clearly in the book. That was a way to tease Logan. Because Laura was not conceived by sperm and egg, even Logan's gold was not used, so it was called an ectopic pregnancy. Another one is the birth of Laura. According to her personal publication, Laura was not born completely in the uterus, but was transferred to the culture nest for artificial birth after the embryo was produced halfway through the pregnancy. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.